that had divided themselves into two different nations. They divided themselves into two different countries. And they said, we will possess it, whereas what?
Whereas Yahweh was there.
Whereas Yahweh was there. So the Gentiles are going to have in their possession a place where Yahweh was. Out of both of these countries, out of both of these territories, his main place of his presence where he was is where? Is Jerusalem. And they say they're going to do what to Jerusalem? Possess it. And when they get there, what they're going to be doing with their feet? Treading it down. Let's go into Ezekiel chapter 36. Ezekiel chapter 36, and let's read verse 2. Read.
Thus saith Adonai Yahweh.
Thus saith Adonai Yahweh. Read.
Because the enemy hath said against
Because
him.
Edom have said, because what?
The enemy hath said unto
The Romans, who?
the enemy.
The Babylonians.
The enemy.
All of the enemies did this, man. All the enemies of Jerusalem came in, and what did they say?
Aha.
Aha. Go ahead.
Even the ancient high places.
Even the ancient high places, what?
Are ours in possession.
Are ours in our possession. They're ours. We possess these things now. Everybody been fighting over what they say is not Jerusalem, but is Jerusalem. But it's the Temple Mount, the location of the temple that everybody got wrong. Because that's for us in our time to know where it is. Haven't been for the Gentiles. So the scripture says that they say that the ancient possess high places. Now they took Masada, and they took Mount Zion, and they took the Temple Mount. All of that was the possession of Israel, and then the Romans came in, and they took it. All right, all right. Let's keep reading. Keep reading. All right, Arias, get up. Give him a break, man. All right, let's go to verse. Let's go to verse 5. Rest of the day, young man. Read verse 5. Ezekiel 36 and 5. Read.
Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, surely in the fire of my jealousy.
Surely in the fire of my jealousy. Go ahead.
Have I spoken against the residue of the heathen.
The residue of the what?
The heathen.
The residue of the heathen. All right, go ahead.
And against all Idumea.
Against all Idumea. Go ahead.
Which I appointed my land into their possession.
Now, what land of Yahweh do you go and find all the heathen at, man? It's Jerusalem, man. So the Most High said that he said all the who?
All Idumea.
Hey, can somebody put your phone on mute, if please?
That was in there like at least the whole thing.
I think I know who it is.
Because it was in there. I didn't even see you working. I saw John.
All right, Lacom. It was Lacom, so I had to put him on. Okay, so what do it say? Huh? All right, so what does it say? It says that I have spoken against who?
All Idumea.
No, I have spoken. No, that ain't what it say. No. I have spoken against who?
The residue of the heathen.
That means that the Gentile leftover. Because they trying to say that they the residue. They the remnant. So they going to back to Israel now. Which they're what? And against who?
And against all Idumea.
Who is the chief house of Edom?
Amalek.
Amalek. So against the chief house of Edom, representing all of Idumea. And I'm going to break something down for you real quick. Amalek is not only the so-called Jew. Amalek is the ruling family of Edomites worldwide. From Alexander to his father, Philip of Macedonia, to Mark Antony, to Julius Caesar, to Augustus Caesar. They all have been from the family ruling of the Edomites, of Amalek. That's why we're told in the prophecies all right, in Numbers chapter 23, that Amalek will be the leader, will be at the head of all the nations. All right, you can find that in the book of Numbers, chapter in Numbers chapter. You ain't got to go there, man. In the book of Numbers chapter Numbers chapter 24, and you can see it in verse 20. And when he looked upon Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first, which means in Hebrew, Ra'ash was the head of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. All right? Let's go back into Ezekiel. What did it say? And against who?
And against all Idumea.
And against all Idumea. Go ahead.
Which I have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart.
Which I appointed my land into their possession with the what?
With the joy of all their heart.
Now let me ask you a question. What's the joy of the Amalekites that's in Israel? What's the joy of what's their main joy about being over there?
The land.
The land. And what's the main joy in the land that they this is what the Most High is saying. The Most High is saying they got joy because they don't got no joy about, we got Telerod. They don't got no joy over that. Matter of fact, has anybody ever heard of a ceremony called the Simchat Torah? Anybody over here? Okay.
We spell it. How should I pronounce it?
It's a Simchat, Simchah. Somebody look it up real quick and read it. Simchat Torah. One of you brothers, Simchat, Simcha. Simchat Torah. All right, somebody get that and read that.
Is it 2 words?
It's 2 words. Simcha and then Torah.
I got Simchat.
Read that.
Simchat Torah or Simchat Torah is a Jewish holy day, Jewish holiday that celebrates and marks the conclusion of the annual cycle of public Torah readings and the beginning of the new cycle.
Okay, now put in Simchat Torah, Jerusalem. Now put in Jerusalem after that.
God. Simchat Torah, Jerusalem, and I don't really know which one I'm looking for, so I'm just kind of reading.
Okay, con.
Okay, God. So Simchat Torah, Jerusalem. Simchat Torah is celebrated in Jerusalem in hundreds of synagogues throughout Jerusalem. Congregants will all be dancing in circles and announce and around the Torah scrolls.
You see that? Go ahead. You still reading? You got some more for us?
Not so much.
Okay. So now what they doing, they imitating what we used to do. When we finished reading the Torah, we had like a little celebration. We read the whole law of Yahweh, hallelujah. All right. Hallelujah. You know, we read it. So now they do this every year. So they literally have a festival every year in our possession that they call joy. Every year. And read that scripture again, man. The last part, all Idumea.
And against all Idumea, which I appointed my land into their possession.
Which I appointed my land. They appointed my land into their possession with what?
With the joy of all their heart.
With the joy of all their heart. With the joy of their hearts. Now, it may be a different Hebrew word that's used right here, but it definitely embodies the spirit of what the scripture is saying. I didn't look up the Hebrew words yet. Let's look up that Hebrew word, Ezekiel. Somebody give me Ezekiel 36:5 in the Ibadiath. Let's see who get it. Let's see who get it first. It's a race for the. Somebody get it for me and then tell me the word. Ezekiel 36:5. The word for joy. It might be Ranan, Simchat, or let me have some, Kaya. Can I have some? Give me one. Give me one. Give me one. Pick one for me off of there. Kaya, pick one. Here, toss it to me. I don't know. You tell me. What it say? Let me see. What do you say, Karatazaya?
Oh, the other I called me out, King.
Okay, so it's the same word?
The word was Simcha.
So the same word, Karatazaya?
Shamcha.
All right, so the it's verse 5, right?
God, the Strong's though is the Strong's for Shamcha. You got that up?
So in the Hebrew, yeah, the Strong's is 8057.
I got it.
Yeah, this right here show you the Hebrew and the Strong's number for the whole Old Testament.
Interlineal.
Kind by J.P. Green. J.P. Green. J.P. Green is the one.
God.
Yeah, J.P. Green is the one. This the one that. Hey, me and Thanyala.
God.
Man, this was our first. This is our first major biblical investment. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says. It says Lakam. Then it says la. It says la marar washa. Then it says ba sham. It says ba shamcha, which the root word is shamcha. All right, or shamak shamcha. So it's a shamcha. So it's the same word. So the word that they call what they're doing every year, which they probably got from us, the Most High has a prophecy saying that they're going to be doing exactly that. That they're going to be in His land, and they're going to possess it with the joy of their heart. With what? With despiteful minds. See? Because if you talk about Yahushua, if you ain't white like them, they despise you still. They don't want you there. The government does that because they need a labor force. But the general public, nah, they don't want you there. All right? Then it says what? To cast it out for a prey. Meaning what? It's a money make. Man, you check to see how much it's going to cost you to stay in Jerusalem. They want to charge you $300 a day for a one-bedroom Airbnb. So they doing it for a prey. Meaning they doing what? They just putting it out there so people can, so they want people to come and consume this dinner so they can have your money. They're using Jerusalem for a prey, meaning just to attract people as bait, right? That's what prey is. It's bait that people are going to get and eat and then consume them. And then they're going to drink. And that's what they're trying to do is exploit people, bring people over there. And it's all a money game, man. It's all a money game what they're doing in Jerusalem right now, in Israel right now in general. How am I going to be in the middle of a place that everybody else is charging X amount of dollars for rent, and you want to charge like 5 times or 10 times what everybody else is charging? You see, that's on the Most High said it. This is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. So it ain't nothing. So now, once we talk about the water, once we talk about them having that land, man, they're not doing that at Tel Aviv. They doing that at the Most High said where they doing this stuff at? They're possessing the land. They got a high place, and it's being trodden down by the Gentiles. So that equals what? Jerusalem. All that equals Jerusalem. All right. All that equals Jerusalem. All right. You can Shabath2. So all that equals Jerusalem. So I mean, if anybody got any more feedback on that, hey, let's bring it out. I mean, because you the only one out the whole, you the only one on the call right now that's been there, Kadal, yeah? Let's go into Mark chapter 13, verse 2. Mark 13 and 2. Mark 13 and 2. All right. Somebody read that when you get it, please.
God, I got you. Mark 13 and 2. And Yahushua answering said unto him,
let's start in verse 1, Salakla, so we get so everybody can see the context.
God, this is Mark 13 and verse 1. And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Yahushua
so his disciples, so his disciples, man, it was looking like, yo, man, they was marveling, like, yo, look at the buildings, man. Look at these stones. Like, this is beautiful architecture, man. This place is beautiful. Look at the stones, man. And look at the building. See what manner of stone these are? It was a beautiful place, man. It was wondrous from the foundation up. All right, go ahead. And verse 2.
And Yahushua answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings?
So do you see these you see these buildings, man? They so great. They so wonderful. They so beautiful. Go ahead.
There shall not be left one stone upon another.
How many stones?
Not one.
Go ahead.
There shall be not left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
It's gonna be thrown. All the stones gonna be thrown down, man. So if I look at this place, I'm not gonna see no courses of stones. I'm not gonna see no layers of bricks. I'm not gonna see no layers of the building. I'm not gonna see no stones from this place. And furthermore, what is the word that he said? He said, what manner of stones, and what buildings. So this was a complex, man. Read Josephus, man. This was a complex. This wasn't just no little mountaintop tabernacle. This was a complex with many buildings. Because remember, you had to have the people come there that had leprosy. The woman had to come there when her husband thought that she committed adultery against him. The babies had to come there to get blessed in the ceremony for the firstborns. All right. You had to come there he had to have enough space there for everybody to come there for Passover to get their babies, to get their animals killed for Passover. You had to have room all around there for people to set up their tents, for people to set up for Feast of Tabernacles, for the Passover. That means you had to have other metropolis areas right around there. This was a major city, man. They leveled some of it, but they didn't level all of it. Okay? And at the heart of everything was who? The Romans. That's why every time you see the temple area, the Romans is always right there. The Romans is always right there, close to the temple area. Because remember, they took Yahushua, and they was right to the palace. They was right close to where Pontius Pilate and them was at, man. Look at the Roman records. They got the Roman records out there. Look at Josephus. Josephus would tell you, man. So how are you going to have a first century account that's wrong, and then you're going to come with something totally opposite to him, and we're going to say that you're right? So the Bible says that the stones are not going to be left one upon another. All right? When we go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew 24, let's read that. Matthew 24, verse 1 and 2.
Matthew 24, verse 1. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to shew him the building of the temple. So
Yahushua and them was at the temple area, and his disciples like, man, check this out. Yo, this is, man. Because they was impressed by it. It was beautiful to them. And they wanted to share that love for the temple with Yahushua. All right, go ahead.
And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
So he said every stone of this place is going to be thrown down. He said every place is going to be thrown down. Every stone is going to be thrown down, man. That's what he said. He said every stone of this place is going to be thrown down. So if you showing me a place that you say is where the temple was at, you can't show me the temple, not above ground. You might show me something underground or something associated with the temple, but you ain't showing me the temple. And there's still stones there, because that's going against what Yahushua said. That's going against what Yahushua said. All right, go ahead. Verse 3.
Okay. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives,
all right,
the disciples came.
So he went from the temple area to where?
The Mount of Olives.
All right, go ahead.
The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be?
So now Yahushua said, when are the Romans going to come and destroy this place, man? When is this place going to be totally destroyed? All right, go ahead.
When shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of the coming and of the end of the world?
Go ahead.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Yahushua, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars, and of rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet.
All right, so he said, yeah. So he giving a two-part prophecy, letting you know that Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, but that ain't the end. So this temple is going to be destroyed, but that ain't the end yet. So that's what he's getting into right there. But he's talking to them about this prophecy where? From the Mount of Olives, which is got to be close to where the temple was at. All right? Got to be close where the temple was at. Let's go into Acts chapter 23.
What?
Let's look at 23 verse 1.
This is Acts chapter 23 and verse 1. And Paul earnestly beholding the council said, men and brethren, I have lived in all good consciousness. Be for God unto this day.
So Paul is at the council at Jerusalem in the temple area, talking to the main council of the people. All right, go ahead.
And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth.
Like your mother used to do you. smack you in your mouth when you said something disrespectful. Some of y'all mother might have told you, I'm gonna smack the teeth out of your mouth. So that's you know, so that's where we get that from. Smack him in his mouth. Disrespecting Paul because Paul was standing up for Yahushua. Smacked him in his mouth. But this is the high priest now talking. So we're at Jerusalem. What did Paul say?
Then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law.
That means you ain't supposed to put your hands on no man unless he put his hands on you, or you defending yourself or your family or somebody that something evil is about to happen to. You ain't supposed to strike no man out of anger because he said something to you about your mother, about your wife, about your unborn, about a deceased relative that you didn't like. You got to have self-control. Because if it's wrong for the high priest to command it to be done to Paul, it's wrong for you to do it to somebody else because you think you got a good reason. So control your spirit, man. It's unlawful, Paul is showing us, to be putting your hands on somebody without no just reason of physical or expectation of physical harm. All right? So now let's read verse 10.
This is Acts chapter 23 and verse 10. And when there arose a great decision, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should have been pulled in pieces.
So look, Karadazaya, the chief captain of the Romans, he's afraid that Paul is about to get killed. Because why? Because when Israelite, this shows you, man, Israelites was about to riot on Paul talking against the high priest. Go ahead.
Commanded the soldiers to go down.
Wait. The soldiers to go down from where? From the Roman fort and do what?
Commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force among them and to bring him into the castle. Okay, so where is the chief captain at? If he's saying bring him to the castle, he's in a castle area, which is the Roman fort. So he can. So look, Karadazaya, he can know, he can see, he can hear, or he can get a quick report on what's happening at the temple with this council going on with Paul. So they had to be in the same general vicinity, man. So if you find the castle, if you find the Roman area, if you find the Roman fort, bam, you in walking distance to the temple. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You in walking distance to the temple. Hallelujah. So find me the Roman fort by Telerad. Or did the Romans destroy their own fort too? Did they destroy their fort? All right, let's jump to verse verse 16. This is the book of Acts, chapter 23 and verse 16. And when Paul's son heard their laying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul.
So he told Paul, look, man, they waiting on you. They gonna kill you, man. They got plans that they're gonna kill you, Paul. So you need to be careful, bro. Uncle. Right? You need to be careful, uncle. Because they want to kill you. All right, they want to kill you, man. So now, as we read this, as we go further on, this is the story, or part not. This is the beginning part. Is someplace in this when Paul is talking to a soldier at Jerusalem, and he tells them that I was born free, man. And the dude said, well, can you speak Greek? And Paul said, yeah, but I'm an Israelite from Tarsus, man. So here we see, this is just an example showing you how the temple and the Roman fort was in close proximity. So it's little things in the story that we can read where we can see that the temple and the fort was in the same area. So the temple area, we know, is now the temple area that's close to the Roman fort. Let's read in Chronicles chapter 5, 2 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 2. 2 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 2. Let's read that. Let's read 2 Chronicles chapter 5, we can read verse 1 and 2.
This is 2 Chronicles chapter 5. Start at 1.
Con, verse 1 and 2, con.
The 2 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1. Thus all the work that Solomon made for the house of the Lord was finished. And Solomon brought in all the things that David, his father, had dedicated, and the silver and the gold and all the instruments put he among the treasures of the house of Yahweh.
So Solomon got the temple working, everything's built up, and now they're bringing in the treasury. All the gold and silver that David had put to the side for the operation of what the temple was going to need to function properly. Go ahead.
Then Solomon assembled all the elders of Israel.
So Solomon said all the leaders, the elders were, who were the elders of Israel? The elders were the leaders of the houses of their fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel. And you had 70 main elders. All right, go ahead.
And all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel.
So these were men that these were men that had that were part of these were clan leaders, basically. The leader of a bunch of Israelite families. All right, go ahead.
Of Israel unto Jerusalem, to bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion.
So the city of David and Zion was synonymous. And they brought it from there to where? Unto the temple area. Let you know what? That now we got 3 places, Karatazaya. We got 3 places now. We got the city of David. We got Zion, which is synonyms. Then we got the temple where they brought the stuff. And then they got the Roman fort. So we're not just looking for a mountain with a building on it. We're looking at 3 geographic markers. We're looking for a place where the Romans can have a fort. We're looking for a place that fits the description of a temple that needs running water. That we should see remnants of something with blood and the bones of animals with the sacrifices. And then we need something that's going to also be something that can be considered to be Zion or the city of David. Because here we see that the city of David and Zion is the same synonym. And it's both in what? It's both in Jerusalem. Khan.
So just real quick, I remember reading that there were cities set up around the temple too. So wasn't there like a collection of cities that all made up the entire province of Yashala? Does that sound familiar?
I mean, what do you mean? Cities around Jerusalem or cities around Israel?
All right, forgive me, Squad. What I mean to say is, all right, so we have our main home, right? But when our main home comprised of, you had the city of David was on the top, correct? So the city of David is on the top, but then also around, wasn't there Yashala provinces that was set up?
I haven't studied that part. I can only speak on part of what you're saying.
Well, let's use one example, like Garrison, like 2nd Maccabees 6. We had a temple in Jerusalem, and then there was another, like a city that was in Garrison. And I remember, like a couple, like it was some time back. We were speaking about the structure of Yerushalayim. We've been looking at the structure of it. There was also like surrounding cities that we lived in. So like I may be repeating myself.
No. I would imagine, you know, I would say kind of confidently that yeah, we did have villages and cities around the outskirts of Jerusalem.
I'll do the groundwork, Zaquan. I'll put it back to you.
I would very much agree with that. In other words, you're asking. Let me rephrase your sentence for you so I can understand it better, so I can answer it better. You're asking basically, was Jerusalem an isolated populated area, or was Jerusalem surrounded by other inhabited areas?
So say like Yerushalayim, a city set up on a hill, right? But then there was other surrounding hills that was around it. All right, so we got the Temple of David right here. All right, so we got the Temple, the Tabernacle. But wasn't there? But I think I remember somewhere that there was other hills that surrounded the major province. Like there was other hills with cities that was around Yerushalayim. I gotta go back. I'll bring it back.
I know that there was other hills and other mountains around it, but how large those cities were around it, you know, we can ask Josephus, or we can go into the scripture. Perhaps the scriptures goes into the specific areas that were, you know, around Jerusalem and those small cities. But you say, but what's the meat of what you're saying though? What are you trying to bring out about that?
Seeing that that the way that you're bringing it out is that, you know, the city that Solomon built was a major metropolis, and that we used to go there. It had to be, right? Because it had to be the city around. I'll bring it back up. But what I was getting at was to say was be the, you know, there weren't other cities around. Like I'm going in my head, I'm recollecting, you know, what I seen, and it was a hill, and there was structure. And there was a structure around it, and there was a well, but there wasn't other cities directly around it. And then, also, you know, as a Zaquan, I think I'm thinking very fast and stuff is flooding in, but I don't have the words formulated yet.
Okay. All right, that's cool. That's good. That's good. It literally happens to the best of us, literally. Then just gotta prioritize, you know, what am I trying, happens all the time. What's the most important thing I'm trying to say right now? And you make that statement, and then your brain automatically will start getting the different pieces to substantiate that statement that you're making. Like when you say something about, okay, water, well, I'm thinking to myself, as you said that, I'm thinking like, nah, they didn't go digging, they didn't go bringing water from a well when they wanted. They had to be a spring of water that they could just draw from and go to as a source. So I'm thinking as you're talking about the water, about the spring of Gihon, man, about that fresh water, you know, coming from there.
Which one didn't one of the prophets build help me now, I'm messing up with the word, but I can't think of the name of it. It's not like a well, but it's like a place where the water would go. Yeah. One of the prophets had redirected. He had redirected water to make it come into not a citadel, but like a underground water well.
Hezekiah. King Hezekiah.
So like Zaquan Nathaniel, you said something?
What, an aqueduct?
Aqueduct. Yeah, aqueduct.
King Hezekiah. They call it Hezekiah's tunnel.
Hezekiah's what again?
They call it Hezekiah's tunnel.
So wherever this location would be, would have to have that also to this day, Con?
It's still there at City of David. But now somebody else will say, oh, they did that modernly, and then they stopped up the one in Tel Arad. They did that modern times, and they stopped up the one in Tel Arad. That's the
but the other points, as far as the mountains being within that
geographical location, that still would have to have relevance to the argument.
Yeah, you got like that's 5 things now. You know, we got the water source, we got the well, and we got Zion, which is the city of David. We got a Roman fort, and we have the temple area. So we got 5.
I think it's more than that, Zaquan, because I think there has to be cities that
No. I'm saying at least 5, and if you want to say the 6, but the reason I'm saying these 5 is because we have a scriptural reference that points to those 4. I mean those 5. I know that there were cities around it too, but we got to go in and say, here's the scripture where, well, we know the city of David was in Jerusalem, and that was Mount Zion, and we know that we had you know, other areas around Jerusalem where people lived at. You know what I'm saying? We know we got other areas people lived at. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Cause I was yeah. So you know, you guys, you know, you got 6, you know, 6 things. You're looking for other habitable areas from around Jerusalem too. Once again,
if it is in Teleran, then those structures would have to be there also. And that's what I was trying to get at, is that those structures aren't there of being other inhabitable cities that would surround the temple.
In all fairness, they could have been destroyed or plowed down, in all fairness. So
why would they be completely raised all the way to the ground, but the actual temple not? Because what is that? Psalms 137, they said raise it even to the foundations thereof.
Right.
So they would raise the foundations of the cities, but not the temple.
I mean, I don't think that would happen, but I gotta think objectively. I wanted the temple there to build my own temple and to use as my own area as the conquering Gentiles, and I wanted to plow down everything else because I didn't want nobody else to be living in the area where I was at. That's why. Now, I don't believe that, but you got to look at, that's an argument that somebody else could bring and then be able to offset that argument from the scripture. Offset you, in other words, you know, offset your own self also. Well, this is why that's not true. And they say, oh, but it's almost like debating yourself. Like, okay, here's the scripture that says that, but there's no reason why. Well, Yahushua said that the stones will be turned over. In Luke and Matthew, the stones will be totally turned over. So the mountains wouldn't be left. So you're looking at a city that basically, the whole city is abandoned, basically. The whole area and the suburbs are basically abandoned. Which would mean what? Which would mean that the city Jerusalem is not being trodden down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which would not be the place prophesied by Yahushua. So it's like you can't even entertain certain thoughts too much because you got basic pivot points that you're going off of. And if you go any direction off them pivot points, you got to come back now. Otherwise, you'll be all around the place chasing every theory. All right?
I got one more question.
Come.
Daughter, it's not one more. I got a lot more questions, but for right now, just on this one. So, have we seen any other locations that surround, like any plains where everything has been completely wiped out?
I mean, Jerusalem at some point was what they did level Jerusalem at some point, but then they built it back up. When they kicked us out in 135 BC, I mean 135 AD, in the Bar Kokhba rebellion. The Bar Kokhba rebellion, they kicked everybody out, and we wasn't allowed to go back in there until, like, man, centuries and centuries later. All right, we wasn't allowed to go back in that city. So but the extent of them stop. The extent of them raising it, we have to go to Josephus and go into the Roman history about it. But they did raise it, but Did they? But I believe they plowed it down, they raised it, and then built it back up. A lot of areas. But they had to. But they kicked us out of there. So, like you said, just raise it unto the ground thereof. That's what the Babylonians did. But we know that when they went there, when Nehemiah and Ezra got back to Jerusalem, we know that there were still buildings there, and it was Gentiles living around that area. Remember, because they was the ones that was antagonizing the building of the wall.
God.
So they wasn't just coming in like an open country field. They had dwellings around that city, you know. When we go into 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 20, it says, and the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? All right. So he brought water into the city through a conduit. All right. And if you bring water in from a conduit, you're bringing that water in through a conduit from a water source. From a water source. And that's where they get into Hezekiah's tunnel.
Water.
So in 2 Chronicles, I got on the bar, 32 and 30. Okay, let's go to 2 Chronicles 32. And let's start with verse let's start with verse 27.
2 Chronicles 32, verse 27. And Hezekiah had exceeding much riches and honor, and he made himself treasuries of silver and for gold and for precious stones and for spices and for shields and for all manner of pleasant jewels. Verse 28. Storehouses also for the increase of corn and wine and oil and stalls for all manners of beasts and coats for flocks.
Coats is like corrals, holding areas for the sheep and for the goats. Go ahead.
Verse 29. Moreover, he provided him cities and possessions of flocks and herds in abundance. For Elohiah had given him substance very much.
Okay.
Verse 30. The same Hezekiah also stopped the upper water course of Gihon and brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David. And Hezekiah prospered in all his works.
So,
Verse 31.
all right, so that's it right there. So we should see on the west side, all right, we should see something going to the west side of the city of David. A water course that Hezekiah facilitated, that he made. Let's use the basic. There's a water course that Hezekiah made to bring the water from one place to another, to bring it from the Gihon, all right, and brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David. And that's what they call Hezekiah's tunnel. So that's what we're looking for. So now we know that we got on the west, I gotta look at that west. It says to the west side of the city of David. We gotta look at how it's coming from. Somebody can get that online too, man, and pull up this information. I have a sketch on here of how one of the guys is saying that it was.
What you want to look up?
The city of David and Hezekiah's tunnel, which is also called the Siloam tunnel. And then, hold up, don't forget that we have a ancient Hebrew writing inside this tunnel that says that this is the tunnel project that we completed. And then, you know, but you get to a certain point, man, where everything is not a lying conspiracy. You the conspiracy after a while when everything points away from what you're saying. It's almost like, oh, they went in all the archaeology and they erased the name Yahweh. They erased Ahiah and they put Yahweh. So that's why you don't find it. Oh, they went in all the scriptures about everything about Jerusalem and they changed it so we wouldn't find it. Say we wouldn't find Jerusalem. See what I'm saying? So nah. You didn't orchestrate everything totally. If that's the case, they did that with slavery too. Any prophecy that doesn't fit with our doctrine is a conspiracy. The facts are there, but they actually went and changed it. So now, here's a map. Here's a map right here. If anybody can y'all see that or not really?
Not really.
Yo, Zaquan, will you switch the camera to your screen for me?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Y'all can probably see it then. Nathaniel said, not really. That's an emphatically no right there. Okay.
Okay.
Is it blurry?
No, I mean, little, but it's okay. What you got?
Let me see something. Hold on, let me see if I can so if you everybody on their phone right now, if you type in just type in Hezekiah tunnel map. Let everybody do that. Hezekiah tunnel map. Do that on Google. Everybody. Hezekiah Hezekiah tunnel map. And everybody say when you get it.
I got it.
Okay, you see the map on the left hand side, right? It's a brown map, and they got a blue water course going through it. Everybody see it? All right, so if you click on that, this is what is there now. This is what's there now. So we got the Gihon Spring, and then we got it going to the west side of the place that they say is the city of David. Just like we just read in 2 Chronicles 32 and 30. He stopped up the upper water course of Gihon and brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David. And here we have the water coming from the east and going to the west. All right, so this is just, now you can't say, well, they stopped it up. So that's why we don't have it down at this city of David. So the city of David was not the tabernacle. I mean, was not the temple. The city of David was close to the temple because remember the ark was resting at the city of David because remember David brought that threshing floor, remember?
God.
David brought that threshing floor from what's the guy named Obed Edom, right? Was that his name? Somebody else? David brought the threshing floor. He purchased it. All right, I think that's going to be in, let me get a scripture for that. First Chronicles 21:25. And First Chronicles 20 okay, let's start at 26. And David built, verse 25. And David gave to Ornan for the place 600 shekels of gold by weight. And David built there an altar unto Yahweh, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings, and called upon Yahweh. And he answered him from heaven by fire upon the altar of burnt offerings. And Yahweh commanded an angel, and he put up his sword against the sheath thereof. At that time, when David saw that the Yahweh had answered him in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, then he sacrificed there. For the tabernacle of Yahweh, which is what we just read about today, full circle. The tabernacle of Yahweh, which Moses made in the wilderness. See, we just read about that today. Come. And the altar of the burnt offering were at that season were in the high place at Gibeon. But David could not go before it to inquire of Elohim, for he was afraid because of the sword of the angel of Yahweh. So David brought this this threshing floor and put an altar there. Okay. So now we got a place that's, but we got a place that could be used for a threshing floor. Not too far. And I think, is this when David brought the is this when he put up the city of David? So this is the place that David has set up to do an altar and sacrifice to Yahweh. So eventually everything went back to this place. But then Solomon says that they took it from their city of David and they put it where? They carried it up to the temple during that ceremony of the dedication of the temple. So anybody got anything else to bring out? Let's bring it. This is all of us, looking at this thing together. This ain't somebody went back and got a breakdown and now we trying to teach on it to convince everybody. We asking questions. We trying to give answers. I got a question. Is this area right here, is this the area that became the city of David? This area we're reading about that David bought from, was it Ornan, the Jebusite? And I got another question. This showing you that this Jebusite was living in Israel. What is he doing alive? And what is he doing? Anything he got being used for the service of the Most High. So check that out. What kind of Jebusite was this? What kind of Jebusite is this, right? So things ain't always as they appear to be. So was this place the city of David? That's the question. Anybody got an answer for that now, or?
Might have to revisit.
Con.
I'm just learning. Don't ask me.
Yeah.
So,
Where's that scripture with the threshing floor?
1 Chronicles 21.
All right.
But there's got to be a other one, you know. We could probably put in we could probably put in Ornan, Ornan, city of David. All right.
O-R-A-N-A? Say that again.
O-R-N-A-N.
Okay.
So, you know, we can all we can read this and we can learn together. Now we know that when we go in chapter 22, that David is getting all this stuff together. Let me read this real quick, chapter 22, verse 1, while y'all look for that one. Then David said, "This is the house of Yahweh Elohim." All right. And this is the altar of the burnt offerings for Yasha'Allah. And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Yasha'Allah. And he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of Elohim. And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails, for the doors of the gates, and for the joinings, and brass in abundance without weight, and cedar trees in abundance for the Zidonians. And they of Tyre brought much cedar wood to David. And Dawad said, "Shalomah, my son, is young and tender. And the house that is to be builded for Yahweh must be exceedingly," go Mike Tyson word right here, huh? Exceedingly magnifical. Exceedingly, no, look that up. Ornan in city of David. Exceedingly magnifical. Exceedingly magnifical. Of fame and glory throughout all countries. I will therefore now. Okay, so he prepared everything together before he. So now we see that first day may have been cool, but Solomon, nah, y'all ain't gonna just sit on y'all butt eating all these first 3 days. You better get to work on that temple. I don't care what Saul did. You know what I'm saying? So they said the second day they began to work. And then it says, then these are the things wherein Solomon was instructed for the building of the house of Yahweh. The length by cubits after the first measure was 60 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits, which is 3 cubits is 60, which is 90 cubits, which is excuse me, that's 90 feet long. All right, and 20 cubits is 30 feet wide, and 30 feet wide. And the porch that was in the front of the house, the length of it was according to the breadth of the house, 20 cubits, and the height was 120 cubits. So that height, 120 cubits, is 120 plus 60, that's 180 feet tall. And he overlaid it within with pure gold. And the greater house he sealed with fir trees, which he overlaid with fine gold, and set thereon palm trees and chains. And he garnished the house with precious stones of beauty, and the gold was gold of Farvaim. So this is like the Taj Mahal. He had beautiful stones even on the inside of the house. All right, so this was done that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So all of these things were put at the threshing floor of Ornan, all right, of the threshing floor of Ornan. So now when we go in verse 1 again, Thus all the work that Solomon made for the work, chapter 5, 1. And Solomon brought all the things that Dawid his father had dedicated, and the silver and the gold and all the instruments put he among the treasures of the house of Yahweh. And Shalimah assembled the elders of Yasharallah, the Quanyam Yasharallah, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the Banya Yasharallah, unto Yerushalayim. So everybody assembled at Yerushalayim to bring up the Ark of the Covenant of Yahweh out of the city of David, which is Zion, which would include the threshing floor of Ornan. So the threshing floor of Ornan, the place where the tabernacle, where the original place was to be prepared for the temple, the city of David and Zion was all called the same name. And we know it appears as if they were sitting on hold on, what happened with Mount Moriah? No, he made the temple of Yahweh on Mount Moriah. All right, so you got Mount Moriah, which where the temple was made at. And then you have below that, you'd have the city of David, or you'd have Zion in that same vicinity, and the threshing floor of Ornan. All right, and then in that same area, you'd have a Roman fort, and then you'd have cities that surround that area, and then you have a water pool that looks like it got stopped or diverted from the east and then flowing toward the west. So come on, somebody, bring something else out, man. Don't have me doing all the talking. I know Marakai got something. Shamar Aban, Shalom Lakah. What you got for us? Somebody got something? Cause y'all can talk when y'all want to.
So Mount Moriah, where's that fit in this?
Y'all ask, I don't know. You tell us. Mount Moriah. Well, let's look at 2 Chronicles chapter 3 verse 1. Let's see how Mount Moriah fits in. Somebody got that? Read it, please.
2 Chronicles chapter 3 verse 100. Then Solomon begins to build the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah, where Yahweh appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Arnon the Jebusite.
So he began to build the house of Yahweh in Mount Moriah. So that's how it fits into the equation. He started to build the temple at Mount Moriah. So I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Kanal Tazayah, it specifically say he started to build the temple at Mount Moriah, right? Okay, now let's read chapter 5, verse 2. So the temple was built at Mount Moriah. Now let's read chapter 5, verse 2, Kanal Tazayah.
2 Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 2. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Yasharallah and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Yasharallah unto Yerushalayim, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahweh out of the city of David, which is in Zion.
Which is Zion.
Which is Zion.
So, if the city of David is called Zion, and they brought the ark from the city of David unto, Solomon brought it up unto the house that he just built in Mount Moriah, how can Mount Zion and Mount Moriah be the same place? How can the temple area or the temple ruins be called Mount Zion if it was built on Mount Moriah? And David, the threshing floor and the Ark of the Covenant was at Mount Zion, which is the city of David. It's two different places. They may be close with each other, but they had two different names.
Salakia, Zawan, I think a question would be also, which I do not know the answer of, but where would Mount Moriah be located?
Well, Mount Moriah is going to be the place that best fits the description of the temple that we find in the scriptures, as well as the history references too, man. Which, once again, in Jerusalem now, you have the Temple Mound, and then you have the city of David behind that. So between the Temple Mound and the city of David, that's where you're going to have Mount Moriah. It's got to be between them two places. So you got so many different beautiful references in the scriptures, Kadal Tazayah. Now it's up to us to go over there ourselves and objectively compare all of the data from what we see in the scriptures. Not as one man, but as a body of men. As a body of men. Anybody else want to chime in on anything?
No, I just want to see what Moriah means. Mount Moriah. Trying to see what it means.
Moriah should be like it's in Genesis. Look in the Hebrew if you got your Hebrew Bible and turn to Genesis chapter 22 verse 2, and you'll see it in the Hebrew, and then we can try to see what it means. It says aha Maria. That means bitterness of the Most High. Mard means bitter, and then Yah means of Yahweh. I don't got the Strong's number in here, but just look it up in the back of you. I'm gonna look it up in the. Use your Strong's as a dictionary and look it up back there, and it'll tell you what words were put together to make up Moriah. So the Strong's number is gonna be. I'm still looking for it. It's Maria. Mard. I got Mard. Ha wa. I got Kataya. Mardia. I got Mardia. All right. I got Mardia. Mariah. This I got Strong's. I got Strong's 8811, but it don't look okay. Moriah, look at 71, 4179. Somebody, look in Genesis 22. Look in Genesis 22 in the Hebrew Bible right there.
I got it, Zaquan.
Okay.
It's H4179.
Okay, yeah, that's where it was leading me. Mawardia. It's Mawardia.
4179.
Oh, so okay, so it's, but it's spelled differently. It's spelled differently in the Hebrew. I don't see a wawa in the Hebrew in Genesis 22 and 2. I don't see a wawa right there. Let me look over it carefully, slowly again. It says ha Maraya. Okay, so only thing I can think of if it's ha Maraya. Okay, if they say it's a compound, Yah has seen, but I don't know how they can say Yah has seen when Yah is going to be what part is seen, because because Yah is Yah on the end. And then Ra'ah would have to be seen, and that would only be Ma and Ra. Seen is Ra'ash, Alap, and Ha'ah. And all we have is a Ra'ash and a Mayam in front of Yah. So I don't know how they saying that that means seen of Yah. Unless go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 5 and see how we have it being listed there. Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 5 or 3. 2 Chronicles chapter 3. And look how they got Moriah spelled in there in Hebrew. 2 Chronicles 3 and 1. You got it? Because we don't have no Wawa in Genesis for Mount Moriah. I don't know if we're going to have it for 2 Chronicles 3 and 1 in Yahweh. It should say, what does it say? Read it in the Hebrew. So it has a Wawa there? Okay, let me see. So they must have did it wrong in Genesis 22, because in the Hebrew, in 2 Chronicles chapter 3, it has a Wawa there. It says Mawariyah. Okay, now that could mean seen of Yah. So the Genesis 22 and 2, let's see what it says in here. Actually, give me the Samaritan in there too. I think it's, you know where it is in there? All right, it's in there somewhere, man. 22 and 2. When he brought him to, they got Martiyah, but they got it spelled differently again. I don't like when they do that. You must tell me the word is the same, but they got two different, you know, apparent roots in the Hebrew. But anyway, yeah, Mount Moriah in 2 Chronicles 3 and 1 is the place where the temple was built at. You take this, man. So everybody doing okay? We
Salakia, Quan.
Con.
It's saying I'm getting the root etymology from Yah and Ra'ah.
Ra'ah, to look, what to see. Like Reuben, with an owl bun. Con.
The water.
Con. Scene of Yah. Scene of Yah.
The water.
So that's what they say it would mean. But that appears to be the place where the temple was originally set up.
The
water. Okay, Barashas 22 and 2. I'm going to see if they got it spelled the same inside the Samaritan Torah.
God. Now, so what's the difference in the spelling in the Samaritan Torah?
What do you mean, what's the difference?
Like, why would it be spelled different?
Because it's an older form of the Hebrew, and it's an older form of the Hebrew text before the Masoretic text.
The water.
So over here it says Martiyah in the, like it says in the Masoretic text, but the Samaritan says Ha Mawarah without no Yah on it, just mount of seeing, the mount of that which is seen. So it doesn't have Yah, it just has plain old, you know, seeing. You know, it has Ma. It has Ha. It says Ha Mawarah. Mayam, Wawa, Ra'ash, and Ha'ah. All right. But we see that this is it's a prominent place where the temple was built at. So I mean that's I mean just finding out that news, you know, itself is very precious. Or being able to, you know, go into the scriptures and show that and see that. Okay. All right, so so that's another thing when you're researching, you know, you find that threshing floor. All right, you find a threshing floor with, you know, with the grain and everything. But I know in that general area down there, before you get to the modern temple mound, they do have like storage jars that they found that do show that area right there was burnt and razed, was burnt and set on fire. They got the old potting shards. They have the water that goes through there, the well, and they have the remains of like a sacrificial system was there, like a little gully for the blood to run through, holding stalls for the animals. So they have the things that you would need to have some sort of a temple complex, okay, below Mount Moriah, but they don't have any of these things in Mount Moriah or in Tel Arad. So that's why I said, you know, once we go over there and we, you know, go over with a team of brothers, man, and that's our mission, you know, to find out, you know, which direction we're supposed to be praying toward and which should we be trying to guard or keep or protect or preserve, you know, the Pesach. And a lot of times people may say, well, yeah, you can't ask the white man nothing but he been over there. We ain't been over there. The Arabs been over there. Africans been over there. The Ethiopians been over there. The so-called white man from Europe been over there before we started going back over there. And they got the records that our ancestors left, that the Romans left, that Josephus left too. And like I said, you know, the Gentiles ain't trampling down that area over there. They trampling down Jerusalem. But that little mountain area right there, the Arabs got that to themselves. And the stones weren't torn down. It wasn't leveled. There's only one place that was leveled where you're going to find remnants of a sacrificial institute being there. And you're going to have remnants of it being, you know, burned and remnants of stuff literally plowed over. And that's at the city of David. Outside, you know, at the city of David, you know, where the temple was, from what we're looking at, from what I'm kind of seeing when, you know, relating everything together. So, anything you got for us, Nathaniela? All right, so we just got to look up, you know, look up real Temple Mount, because the focus is not Jerusalem per se, but the focus is on what was at Jerusalem and what are the remnants that we can look for now to show that this is Jerusalem. And then, you know, you can see, okay, what's the temple area? What about the temple? What was near the temple? We know ain't gonna be no stones left, you know, for the temple because it was totally razed to the ground by all accounts. Josephus says that you could hardly tell. Karadazayah, do you know what that is? When Josephus said you could hardly tell that there was any city that was there before?
Was it any city or was it the trees?
He said that it looked like it was. They made it so that it looked like it was no. The temple area was totally wiped out. Somebody give me the Josephus in there, please.
But I'll look with you.
Okay. No, it's in there. Let me. All right. So you got Josephus and the temple. All right.
Hey, brothers, I'm going to say shalom. I got some things that I'm going to start doing, but I want to say shalom and peace to y'all, brothers, man. I see y'all still diligently studying. I'm on in there with y'all. I'm going to go ahead and work on some other things, though.
Okay. All right. Shalom Lakah.
Shalom.
All right, and Josephus, the war looked like in chapter 7 of Josephus, dealing with the wars. Well, this is about Pompey, or this is about. Is it part 7 or book 7? I think it's book 7.
Book 7.
I believe the taking of Jerusalem by Titus and the sedition of the Jews of Cyrene by Jews at Cyrene. Looking now, if we look in, what section is this? When Josephus, it says Josephus talks about Titus. I don't think we're gonna find it right now, but it talks about how he took the city. It says it says that the entire city of Jerusalem was demolished except for 3 towers. It says one wall of the city was spared in order to afford a camp for such as were to lie in garrison, as were the towers also spared in order to demonstrate to posterity what kind of city it was and how well fortified, which the Roman valor had subdued. But for all the rest of the wall, it was so thoroughly laid, even with the ground, by those that dug it up to the foundation, that there was left nothing to make those that came thither believe it had ever been inhabited.
Is that section 6?
That's book 7, chapter 1, and it's the third. It's the number 3 of chapter 1. Chapter 1, the third parentheses.
Third paragraph?
No, third parentheses. It's still the first paragraph, but it's the third parentheses.
Come on.
You see that? Now, so Josephus says, man, that, and if you look at, let's read it from 1. Now, as soon as the army had no more people to slay or to plunder, because there remained none to be subjects of their fury, for they would not have spared any, had there remained any other such work to be done. So nobody was left in it. All the people was not in the city no more. It says Caesar, all right, Caesar talking about Titus. I'm sorry, Vespasian. Caesar gave orders that they should now demolish the entire city and temple. Just like Yahushua said. He said Jerusalem is going to be surrounded by armies. Know that the desolation thereof is near. But should leave as many of the towers standing as were of the greatest eminency. So the tallest towers. That is Phasaelus and Hippicus and Mariamne. So he named the 3 towers. And so much of the wall as enclosed the city on the west side. So he left the west side of the wall of the city. This wall was spared in order to afford a camp. So the only wall left, the whole temple was laid flat, Josephus says. The wall that was left was the wall apparently associated with the western wall of the city.
There's no towers in it.
And the 3 towers. As were the towers also spared in order to demonstrate to posterity what kind of city it was and how well fortified, which the Roman valet has subdued. But for all the rest of the wall, it was so thoroughly laid even with the ground by those that dug it up to the foundation that there was nothing to make those that came thither believe it had ever been inhabited. This was the end which Jerusalem came to by the madness of those that work for innovations. A city otherwise of great magnificence and of mighty fame among all mankind. But Caesar resolved to leave there as a guard the 10th legion, Karatazayah. So if he left the 10th legion there, which is approximately 6,000 men with 4,000 support, 6,000 soldiers with 4,000 support personnel, where did they stay in Jerusalem? At this tiny old, look at the place where the white Jews say the fort that they built. And that place can't even hold my family, let alone 6,000 men. Okay? So it says, with certain troops of horsemen and companies of footmen. So having entirely completed this war, he was desirous to commend his whole army on account of the great exploits they had performed and to bestow a proper reward on them as had signalized themselves therein. He had therefore a great tribunal made for him in the midst of the place where he had formerly encamped, and stood upon it with his principal commanders about him, and spake so as to be heard by the whole army in the following manner. And then it goes into his speech. So So you can read his speech and show if he says anything else about how Jerusalem was totally destroyed. So anybody got any feedback on that? Anybody?
Anybody what?
Anybody got any feedback on what Josephus says about the city and about the temple being totally destroyed and they only left one wall there and 3 towers?
I mean,
one wall and 3 towers.
I mean that's first person account, so can't really argue against that.
Pour it into something and then pour back in there. So you can see what's in there. All right, so Kadal, what you got, Doc? Or Shamar, Shalom, or Karada Zayah. One of y'all got something to put into that mix. I know you coming in a little later from the conversation, Shamar, but you might have something on that, or Karada Zayah. Whichever one y'all get to the stage first.
Yeah, I'll take it. So I just want to stand on the same stance as Quan Netanyahu. That's first person account. So, I mean, I don't have anything to say. My mouth is closed.
So, does Telerod match with his account?
I don't know enough. And at the same time, there's some things that just don't match. So, I haven't seen any great pillars. There is a wall that's facing to the west. I know some of the stuff that's there in Telerad was recently built back up, like it was really low, but some stuff was built back up. But from what we read, we still have a lot of investigating to do.
Definitely. Now, is there anything remaining? Is there anything that people say was a temple that's still remaining, that's still there?
What's the word garrison mean?
Garrison is like a fort area where you got your soldiers, and it's like an arsenal. It's like an armory. You got your soldiers. You got weapons there for storage to secure an area, and also as a depot if you need to go out and run up on something real quick.
The water. You hit the wawa right on the head. And the reason being is because there was a guard that was there. And he said that Telerad used to be a garrison.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very much, I think that, we should go, we should look into it more, and we should align these things because some of this stuff wasn't brought out, along with, saying that this is the exact location. So some of the stuff wasn't brought out, and it's going to take more investigation. Now, something I think is interesting too, when we read 2nd Ezra 13, where it talks about when Yahushua came back. I don't know if this has anything, if this holds any validity, or it talks about Yahushua's coming back. I don't know if this holds any validity, but it said that Yahushua flew up on the hill, a high place, and that Ezra couldn't see where this place was. So, and this place was, was to be the same place that he fought the army at and he defended from, which would be the same in Revelation chapter 20, where he sent down a fire. So again, just ending it off, Saquon. Flavius Josephus is the eyewitness account, and my mouth is stopped.
What do you mean? What are we getting from What are we getting from what Josephus is saying? Let's break down Josephus.
Yeah, come on. So, these 3 pillars, there's no pillars that's there in Telerod, to show how tall or how magnificent the walls of our cities was. There's nothing there for that. I don't know if these pillars would still be there from that time frame, but I would think that they would be, even if they was in what's called the modern day Jerusalem. Those pillars aren't there either. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something important to see. Now, the well, I think, Hezekiah's well is interesting because there is a location that's there, and it's a really really intricately built deep well that you can go down, and it's really big. So, and I'm talking about in Telerad. So I think that that's worth to investigate, because if my directions are correct, then that would be facing on the side of, you know, I'm instead of calling it a temple, I'm going to call it a garrison, because, you know, I'm just going to call it a garrison for now. So I think that's worth looking at. Let me see. Now demolish the entire city. I'm in Flavius Josephus again, book 7, and I'm in what's that? Line 1 or parentheses 1. All right. All right. So and it reads. It says Caesar gave the orders that they should now demolish the entire city and the temple, but should leave as many as but should leave as many of the towers standing as were the greatest eminency mean
prominent, impressive, high.
Come. All right, greatest eminency. And so I think my biggest thing that I have to say is I think these pillars should be something that we should be looking for. You know, are these pillars in the you know, the modern Jerusalem? You know, I haven't seen them in Telerad. You know, so I don't know. The reason why I say my mouth is stopped because I don't want to say too much and I don't know enough.
Right.
So with that, I'll take my seat, Zaquan.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah. So.
I'm trying to see the orders. He orders the same cities. Now look, this is what it says too. It says that this is a history. I guess this is in Josephus. It says that the earthworks against the upper city are completed after 18 days. The rebels in Jerusalem panic, fleeing or surrendering without a fight, despite their superior position in the massive Herodian towers. Many hide in the ravine below Siloam, and then in the underground passages. So Siloam was the pool of water at the end of when Hezekiah brought the water from Gihon into Siloam. That pool of water is still there now. There's a pool of water still there now that people say is the pool of Siloam that comes from the spring of Gihon, that comes from a spring that people say is the spring of Gihon, that runs through a tunnel that was man-made, that people say is the tunnel that was made by Hezekiah. All right, that has underground caverns and turns around it, you know, that people, you know, so everything fits, but people are saying no, but that's not what the Bible is talking about. Here is what the Bible is talking about that has none of these things. So now, Karatazaya, we know also we're looking for a place that has underground passages where we would try to hide if people was trying to murder us. So we got that also, you know. It says there was 1.1 million inhabitants of Jerusalem died during the siege. So we need a place that would be able to hold approximately 1 million people. We need a city that could hold 1 million people. that could be defended for 4 years. We defended this place for 4 years. So we definitely have some type of physical and fortification advantages, man. Our walls got to be fortified. Our position we ain't going to be in no valley lower than every place around us. But if we attack from a valley that's lower, we could bam, bam, get back down. Arrows, oil, rocks, you know what I'm saying? Engines throwing stones at you. For 4 years, we held them off. So you got to look at that also, man, from 66 to 70 AD. But then, and it was approximately, it says, this is Josephus again. It says there was approximately a million died during the war in Jerusalem. Now, listen what he say. This large number from the siege was due to the Passover celebration. As Jews from many countries, Yashalayim, had been in the city for the festival when the siege began. Josephus tells skeptical readers this number is consistent with Cestius's population estimate under Nero. All right, so they say that, you know, it was during the time of Passover, and when they first started the siege, so 1.1 million people was there. And that goes into how the Most High said in Deuteronomy 28, just like in the book of Lamentations, that we was going to be eating our young. We were eating our children during the siege, during when the Romans surrounded us. And it tells us that in Deuteronomy chapter 28, that we're going to be eating our young and hiding. When the baby died, they will fillet it, cook it, and then they would eat the babies, man. Trying to survive. We turned into cannibals, man. We resorted to cannibalism. That's how bad, how much evil was surrounding us, that we felt like my only way out to survive is to eat my baby. And to think that you're going to survive. So Josephus says there was approximately 1.1 million people there for Passover. So this is a place, a city, where we're going to see a wall on the west side, and then wherever you say is the bounds of that city, got to be able to hold 1.1 million people at least. And the place you say is the place that you say is the area of the Roman fort, the area that's away from the temple. Remember Paul, it's away from the temple, but it's close. It has to be enough to have a Roman fort castle compound. Got to be big enough for that. It's got to be big enough for that. So we need all these things, man. All of this got to line up. If it don't line up, man, then it ain't right. And I better not see no stones from no place that you saying is the temple, or you calling Yahweh Shai, or you, let me say that, rephrase that, or you a liar. If I see stones and this temple is there, if I see a temple and there's stones there, if I see stones and you say a temple was there, that ain't the place, because Yahweh Shai said no. And Josephus says everything was destroyed. He don't say they left a little bit of that and a little bit of this. He said everything was leveled down, man. He said you can't, this is what he said. He said when you looked at it, man, you couldn't even tell it was a city there. That's what Josephus says. So, and I believe, man, I believe that this was just introduced for two reasons. One, because now we got people that once they get their mind fixed on something, you know, then that's it. I heard it, it sounds good, that's it. And let me tell you the truth, man. From the first, when I look at the Temple Mount, I didn't, go ahead.
I'm attentively listening. There's an ox that's got a step to the side, so I just want to give us a salute. So please, continue on, King. I'm going to salute the brother out.
Okay, come on, hallelujah.
Howard.
So, you know, so we see, man, that like, I never really felt like this place at Telerad nor at Temple Mount. I never felt like this was that place. I never felt like the Wailing Wall was a place that was for us. I never felt like Telerad was a place that was for us. When we look at all of the elements that we're looking at, because you all been listening for a while now. You all been listening for a while. So I think what we want to do, Nathaniela, if it's okay with you, can we say a quick prayer, and then can we close out the official convocation? And then I want to hear from some of these women, man. I want to hear from some of these women. I want to hear from some more of the brothers, man, to see what they think about what's going on, because a lot of them are going to be probably more objective, more critical thinking. You know what I'm saying, Zaquan Nathaniela?
Yeah, cut. All right, we can stand and close out. You can go close out the prayer real quick.
All right, so how was shy? But I can call Yahweh Yashamarka, Yahweh Panyawa Aliyaka, Wayakanka, Yasha Yahweh Panyawa Aliyaka, Wayashamlika, Shalom, Duwalia Kaya Hashabat, Duwalia Tawaraka, Duwalia Kaya Sabaldanawa, Atwabium, Atadakium, Watadakium, Malaakium, Basham Hamashak Yahushai, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yahweh Basham Yahushai, it is our duty to praise the Master of all, to ascribe greatness to the author of creation, who has not made us like the nation of the land, nor placed us like the families of the earth, who has not made our portion like theirs, nor our destiny like all their multitudes. For they worship vanity and emptiness, and pray to Allah who cannot save. But we bow in worship and thank the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, who extends the heavens and establishes the earth, whose throne of glory is in the heavens above, and whose power is present in the highest of heights. He is our power. There is no other. Truly, He is our King. There is none else. As it is written in His Tawrah, you shall know and take to heart this day that Yahweh is Allah in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is no other. Basham, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, from Yad, Aman, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. All right. Akwafim Shabath. All right. We on you, Nathaniela.
What you mean? Oh, the salute.
Come.
All right, sister, be seated. Madu. Rock.
Y'all can call me Yahweh, show me how it's shot.
I said it. Did you say it?
Con, we said it.
Okay, it's done. All right, system stand. Lead the salute to the sisters. They can hear you.
All right.
Go ahead.
Aymadwa, Barakwa, Yashamar Khan Yahweh Bashem Yahushai.
Yashamar Yahushai.
Kwam Yashala. Kwam Yashala. Kwam Yashala. Hallelujah. 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 Okay, so now, let's get down to it. A lot of you sisters been sitting back listening, all right? Now, I want y'all to interject, sisters here and sisters over there on the other side of communication. Let's hear some of y'all input on what we're talking about in terms of this wall and in terms of Jerusalem, huh? All right, so let's hear from y'all. Nobody's on mute, so you can unmute yourself, unmute your mic or whatever, and let's hear what somebody might have to say about this, or even a brother. Some of you other brothers have been kind of quiet, all right? Some of you church mouse brethren, Let's get some input.
Let's squish it in the middle. All right.
Come on, y'all.
This one like on the mouth. So what you heard. If you're taking it all in, you're taking it all in. Hold on. What's up with you?
All right, come on. You got Isaiah right here. You got Bayath Parazar right there. You got Shamar Aban right there. What y'all got? What y'all got for us?
It's all they all taking it in still.
Okay. Anybody anybody in Mexico got anything to say? You can, Con.
I think just that.
Can y'all hear that? You might want to.
It seems like the thing we got to do is look at the evidence, look at the locations, and see which location matches the evidence. Even if it's neither location, if it's someplace else that's being hidden.
Hey.
But the evidence is going to speak for itself. And it's kind of hard to evaluate when you haven't looked at it.
Con. I mean, I agree, but man, it seemed like I ain't gonna lie. Telerad is on the ropes. Telerad is on the ropes, man. Telerad seems like it's on the ropes, but David, all right, Hezekiah as well, the pool of Siloam, and Gihon Springs, seem like it's it's at the top of the list. Temple Mound ain't looking good for the Temple Mound either. I said you can have no temple there because the Temple Mound is solid rock. Ain't no water flowing underneath of it either. Temple Mound is solid rock where they got what they call the Temple Mount. It's solid rock. Now you can have hay, you can have grass. You might even be able to bring some dirt inside there and put it on top of the rock and grow. But it's solid rock. Ain't gonna be too you're gonna be able to dig underneath of it. You may be able to dig something, but it's solid rock. So, and it doesn't match. You don't have no city and no fort that can be away from it. Because remember, the Roman fort was away from the temple. History says that, and the Bible says that. The Roman fort was close to, but away from the temple. So what people try to say now is that the Temple Mound was the temple, and that little building at the back of the temple, that little area at the back of the temple, was the Roman fort. That's what they're trying to say. Anybody got anything else they want to bring out? Karadazaya, anybody on your end?
I would like to say the water, double honors to the house of Badazar, Netanyahu, double honors to the elders, those who rule well. For the house throughout the Zayah, I'm going to go ahead and send them off and let everybody get some rest and say Shalom, wa yabarakam yabashmeshar. It's a pleasure keeping the Shabath with you all. All right, so I got to go out. So I got to get ready to go over the man, thank you for that Flavius Josephus. That was a huge help. That Flavius Josephus 7, he does shed a lot of light, on giving some more artifacts to look at. So I appreciate you, Zaquan. Thank you for your ministry.
All praise to Yahweh, the water. Yours likewise, man.
Wow, man, I'm just a reflection of a younger, more unrefined version of you.
We still get that get your wings now.
Man, the Most High's will, right? The Most High's will.
Get your wings now, man.
God, Thawada, and again, thank you for everything. Thank you for your sacrifice and your Yahweh's teaching of the nation for all these years.
All praise to Yahweh, Mashak Yahweh Shad, Thawada Yahweh.
Hallelujah. Shalom, Mashpaka. Shalom.
Shalom, Makai.
All right, over there with Shamar. What's going on with you at Shamar? Are you there, Shamar? All right, we ain't gonna put it. So everybody pretty much cool that's on here. Does anybody have any final thoughts that they want to share besides the people that's already been talking? And then we can get to them people next.
La.
All right. Who said La? Okay. Hallelujah. Okay. Shamar, what you got to say, You got anything for us? We can see you, Shamar, but we can't hear you if you're trying to say something. Okay, what you got? You got anything to say, Mayana Shabai? What you want to say?
How much was the wall?
What wall? I don't know. Maybe you can look that up. How big was the Jerusalem wall? The one in Roman. Anybody know how big the wall was at Jerusalem that the Romans didn't destroy? Okay. We're gonna find that out though. Anybody else? You know the answer to that? Nathaniela?
The coin in the restaurant.
Okay. He stepped away for a minute.
Yeah.
Anybody know how big that Jerusalem wall was? Anybody can look it up? Let me see. You got to ask the question. How big was the Jerusalem wall? The height of it.
According to Wikipedia, the length of the wall is 4,018 meters. Their average height is 12 meters, and the average thickness is 2.5 meters.
They said it was like 40. It was like 40 feet tall. 39 feet tall, and it was 8 feet thick. And the length of it was 2.5 miles around. 2.5 miles. And they had 34 watchtowers and 7 main gates with 2 small gates that's what size it is now. Okay, let's see what size it was back then. Let's see how tall it was. That's what you asked, how tall it was. Okay, how tall was that wall? Because this would be the wall that that Nehemiah built, right? I can't find tall, height, or high in this document right here. Did I find it someplace else? Oh, we'll look it up. Let everybody go. All right, so everybody, if nobody got nothing to say, man, I guess we're gonna finish up. We already saluted out. I guess, Shamar, did you have something to say? I see you, but I can't hear you. That's a modern one and an old one. Are you trying to say something, Shamar? Shamar, are you trying to say something? We can hear you, but we can't see you. I mean, we can see you, but we can't hear you. Are you trying to say something? All right, we got to get off now because Shamar, you keep coming on like you're trying to say something. Maybe you don't know we here, man. You know you're on video, right, Shamar? It don't look like you know he on video, does it? Maricard?
I don't think he know he on video, but he on video.
I don't think he can.
He said he left.
Yeah. They gone now.
It's just us two.
No, it's us and two still, man.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Isaiah still on. Isaiah still there?
Khan. Isaiah Ban Yasharala.
Gone.
Oh, he's still there. Okay.
Side with you, king.
Shalom.
Shalom. But that's, yeah. Shabath2, yeah. Shabath2, yeah.
I think he gone now. He's still. All right, y'all. So I think we finished for the day.
Yeah, you pulled it in there, Zaquan Parzah.
Pull what in?
It was one for the records.
You talking about the duration?
Khan.
I had a lot of help.
Hey, I endured though. I
had a lot of help, man.
Hey, I'm gonna always be ready for this now. I'm always be ready. I'm always be ready for this one now. I know to set everything aside. What is it?
Hey, you ever read what Josephus said about the Sabbath day? Josephus said that every Sabbath day, he said that all we did was engage ourselves in the Torah. He said that was the whole Shabbat day.
That's a good thing though. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Laquan, what the scripture say? That the prophet stood and read the law all day.
Con, that's the.
My shot. He also stood and read the law all day.
All day. And then Paul, sun up to sundown for Paul, man.
Con.
Paul was teaching so long, man, and the little dude fell asleep and died.
That's right. And he fell out the window though.
Yeah, fell back, man, sleeping too hard. Man. Hey, Where's this?
Good spiritual training. That's all. Spiritual. Endurance is key. No, you don't.
All right, so if we look in Josephus in Antiquities 16, book 16, in chapter 2, section 4. 16, chapter 2, section 4. It don't say what paragraph though. Let me make sure it's in Antiquities. (16, 2 and 4). 16. Oh, that's 17. Okay, I'm in the wrong section. 16, 2. Here it is. Josephus chapter, Antiquities of the Jews, book 16, chapter 2. And section 4, or paragraph, no, 16, chapter 2. And in my book it's section 3, but it should be paragraph number 43 of book 16. Book 16, paragraph number 43. All right. 1, 2. All right, it says nor do we conceal those injunctions of ours by which we govern ourselves, they being memorials of piety and of a friendly conversation among men. So the men used to converse on a friendly level about the Torah. And on the 7th day, the Shabath, notice he don't mention nothing about the moon. He says the 7th day, not the 8th or the 12th, the 15th, the 22nd, or the 29th. And on the 7th day, what did he say? We set apart from labor. It is dedicated to the learning of our customs and laws. We thinking it proper to reflect on them as well as on any good thing else in order to our avoiding of our sins. So on that Shabath day, we reflected on the law. There's another section I thought he said we reflected on like all day. But he says on the 7th day, we reflected on our laws as well as any other good thing. Not as specific as I remembered it being, but but it still tells you that on the law, on the scripture, we reflected on it every day. Whoa. Hey, this says that Josephus describes the wall as being 120 feet tall. (120 feet tall). No, the towers were 120 feet tall. I don't see how big the walls were though. And there was deep valleys. The writer said, yeah, it says there was deep valleys surrounding the city on the west, the south, and the east.
Zaquan, we read that again, Baba Quashah.
In War of the Jews, book 5, book 5, chapter 4, verse 1, it says that Josephus says that a single wall was sufficient on the west, south, and east side because of the deep valleys surrounding the city on these sides. So you see that? So we got some.
So like, that's something else I wanted to mention too. Like the city, like the modern Yerushalayim, isn't that? Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Yerushalayim being described as being a city on a hill, right? But the modern Yerushalayim, it's in a valley, though. I think that's something to take into consideration also.
I don't know, is it?
I believe so, man, but I only know that based off of watching the documentary, not for actually doing the topography myself.
Okay, yeah. We'll investigate it, man.
Hallelujah. All right, cool. That was it.
But I think if it's on a hill, I mean, because they say that it was, when you tried to attack it, you had the lower ground. And then the scriptures do say that Jerusalem was surrounded by mountains too. It says there was, so not saying Jerusalem was necessarily higher or lower, but we know that Jerusalem was surrounded by mountains.
Yo, Zaquan, there's no mountains in the modern Jones. There's no mountains at all.
The modern Jerusalem?
No, sir.
Compared to its location?
Compared to its location, it is in a hilly area though, but I mean, it's strange because like when you go there, you ride this little long drive and it's in a hilly area, but that's something I was looking for. I was like, yo, there ain't no mountains. And then in Telerad, there's no mountains, but it's a lot of hills surrounding it. And then the reason why I asked about Masada was because at one point in time I was thinking like, yo, maybe Masada is actually like the place that they're calling Masada. I was thinking maybe that's more. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I was thinking maybe that was actually the real Yerushalayim, and the reason being is because when you go there, which I hope to see there with you, when you go there, you go through these long turns of empty, dry roads, and then you go around these big mountains, and you come around this one mountain to the left. And when the mountain opens up, you just see this huge city on a hill, and it's actually really awe-inspiring, more so than it is when you see Telerad. Like Telerad just feels good because it's like, man, this is home. Like this is where I feel like my home is. But when you see Masada, it's just more. It's even more. Excuse me for saying it like this, but it's even more like elevated and exalted. It's like I could see that being fit in the description more of Yerushalayim, even more so than the modern or Telerad.
Now, also, I know you had a whole bunch of. How big is it once you get up there?
It's ridiculous. Like it's crazy. Like you really. I can't even explain this, Quan. Just the Most High's will. Like I want us to go there. Now, and I will say this: it is something special about what we're calling Fasada. It is something special about it because the stones there actually glow. Like the stones there, they shine. Not like ooh, this is shiny, but it looked like they shine from the inside out. Like if you had like a chocolate rock and you held like a flashlight to it. Like that's what the rocks look like. And even Tazadak and the rest of the brothers that was there, I was like, yo, are y'all seeing this? And they all said the same thing, that it looked like the rocks were shining from the inside out. So, I felt more spiritually connected to Masada, man, than the other one. So, but to answer your question, King, it's ridiculously tall. It's crazy high.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's a correct height measurement.
I mean, but not the height of it, but is it big? Like, is it a lot of open area up there that could hold more than 1 million people?
I'm gonna say it can. because even I'm gonna say con. I'm gonna say an emphatic con, because just in the area that we was in, it was just like we was up on a mountain, but just in the area that we was in, it was so much space, and we were only in one section of this huge location. So con.
Okay. Now, Josephus says in War of the Jews, book 5, chapter 4, the very first section on there, 136. The city of Jerusalem was fortified with 3 walls on such parts as were not encompassed with impassable valleys. For in such places it had but 1 wall. The city was built upon 2 hills which are opposite one to another. See that? 2 hills. So you're going to have like a little valley in between the 2. And have a valley to divide them asunder. So the whole city was built on 2 hills with a valley in the middle. Well, not in the middle, but the valley dividing them. At which valley the corresponding rows of houses on both hills end. Of these hills, that which contains the upper city is much higher, and in length more direct. Accordingly, it was called the citadel by King Dawud. He was the father of that Shalimah who built this temple at the first, but it is by us called the upper marketplace. But the other hill, which is called Akada, and sustains the lower city, is of a shape of a moon when she is horned. So he telling you the geography of how this place, the shape of it. A moon when it is horned. Now notice, he did not say the moon when we begin our months. That would have been a perfect time to say when we begin our months. You follow me? Just passing it. You know what I'm saying? When she is horned, over against this is a 3rd hill, but naturally lower than Akra, and parted formerly by the other by a broad valley. So yeah, we do got valleys, Karatazar, and we do have 2 hills, you know, 2 hills that make up the city. However, in those times when the Hasmoneans reigned, they filled up the valley with earth. So the 2 hills was level enough where you could come in and push them and put dirt in between and bring them both together. And had a mind to join the city to the temple. They then took off part of the height of Akra and reduced it to be a less elevation than it was before. See that, Karatazar? They knocked down part of the hill, man, and made it lower. They literally bulldozed some of the hill to make it more level and to knock it down some, and reduced it to be of less elevation than it was before, that the temple might be superior to it. So it's a lower hill below where the temple is at. All right. That now the valley of the cheesemongers, as it was called, and was that which we told you before, distinguished the hill of the upper city from that of the lower, extended as far as Siloam. For this is the name of a fountain which hath sweeter water in it, and this in great plenty also. But on the outsides, these hills are surrounded by deep valleys, and by reason of the precipices to them belonging on both sides, they are everywhere unpassable. So the surrounding area was tremendously hard to get through. Now, of these 3 walls, the old one was hard to be taken, both by reason of the valleys and of that hill on which it was built.
And and this is describing our home?
Khan. This is Josephus. What'd you say?
No, I was saying, Khan, this is describing our home, Khan.
Khan. He's describing Yadawah Shalom. Khan.
Yep. Then in this case, I'm a definitely say, man, at no way, shape would Telerad match this location that Josephus is explaining.
Why not?
Because of the description of the height and the depth, the mountains, and it not being accessible. But Masada would fit this description, though.
Was it very? Oh, okay, okay. What about now? We have a natural. Is there like a natural waterway there?
But Yahweh Shai, didn't he say that he would dry up the fish and dry up the water there also?
It was no fish there. I mean, it was a spring.
He said he make it the fish to stink and he dries up the water, huh?
Of Jerusalem? I don't know.
Okay.
I know you had like Galilee and Jordan River generally in those vicinities, but from what I remember about the Jordan River, Naaman, the leper, he said that the Jordan River was dirty. I mean, it wasn't clear. Let me put it like that. He said he could have stayed in Syria and went in the water and got clean. Better than the Jordan would clean him.
Yo, where we at, King? We in Flavius 5.
I'm in 4, and I'm in paragraph. I'm in 4, and I'm in section 2, chapter 4, section 2, paragraph 140. Paragraph 142.
Is this Wars?
Khan, Wars, book 5,
okay.
Chapter 4.
Also, I wanted to say the water for teaching me how to read Flavius Josephus also.
Oh, Khan, yeah. We used to go over Josephus like after every Shabbat class, man, on 22nd over there. Remember that, Nathaniel? So, he says, okay, now of these 3 walls, because remember, now, he says that there's 4 walls. He said 2 walls don't have a valley. And then he says 3 walls have a deep valley surrounding them. So we got...
What you asked me,
I said, remember on 22nd, we used to go over the read Josephus after we finished reading the law?
Not every Shabbat, but
you might have still been in Dayton at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so so we got 3 things also, Kadabzayah. We got three valleys on 3 different sides of Jerusalem, which is why they were secure enough to say, now we don't need to make this wall extra big or no reinforcements on this wall. But then the other wall was flat. And that wall that was flat is the one where they said, yeah, we got to build up these. And that wall was on the north. The north wall had 3 outer walls on the north side of the city. The west, the south, and the east walls had 1 wall because they had valleys surrounding them. They had valleys surrounding them. So we're looking for a place that seemingly looks like it at one point was valleys on the east, south, and west side, and then had a level on the north side where there wasn't a big valley on the north side, right? So he says, section 143. But besides that great advantage, as to the place where they were situated, it was also built very strong, because Dawad and Shalimah and the following kings were very zealous about this work. 144. Now this wall began to the north at the tower called Hippicus, and extended as far as the Zistus, a place so called, and then joining to the council house, extending to the west cloister of the temple.
Uh-huh. That tower Hippicus, is that the same one that was mentioned in the other chapter?
Did we read that in Josephus?
We did read in Josephus.
I don't remember the names. I don't remember the names. Let me see if I can find them names.
Okay, Con. Yep.
Yeah, there is a the let me see. I got the history out right here for the so the Hippocrates Tower was like 132 feet tall.
Okay, so was this one of the towers that Vespasian left behind?
It appears so. It says
if so,
go ahead.
No, the scripture says when you're around great men, make yourself not as one of them. I can wait.
No, go ahead. It says to go ahead and talk. Right now.
Okay. So I was gonna say, if so, then because I didn't want to give an answer because I'm not sure, but I thought I remember reading somewhere that the tower that the walls of the temple, the walls of Jerusalem was like 60 feet tall, and if this tower is that tall, that means that this tower will be taller than the walls. But shouldn't the walls and this tower be no?
The towers were always bigger than the wall to give you that extra vantage point beyond. You couldn't afford to make the whole wall tall. That'd be bad. But the walls were 6 stories tall, 60 feet tall, and it was like 8 feet wide. You know what I'm saying? But it says that nothing remains of Herod's 3 towers from Josephus' times. Now it says nothing remains of it. And a citadel named David Tower stands on the spot of Phasael's tower. So it says that David's tower is the only one that's left now. So yeah, we just kind of, we got to sit back and read this thing together, man. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, Zaquan, if you get a chance, man, will you check out that Masada though? Because I'm telling you, man, there's something different about that.
Masada. Especially, I think I'm gonna type in Masada glowing rocks. Because I know you ain't the only one that noticed this. So somebody else, and everybody got some footage on it too.
Yeah, we brought some back. And look, here goes something else. Like the stairs of Masada, it's like we was trying to find rocks that we could pick up, but it's like all of the rocks weren't like you can just pick them up. It's like all of them was embedded.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like they were all in.
Please charge before using it.
Hey, Shalom.
Somebody want to say shalom to you.
Hey, shalom. Shalom, praise. Yabrakaya, Washanah, shalom. Yasharakta. Kahalawaya. The water's a quan.
All right.
They grow up so fast. So this is one of the, and I apologize. I know that this camera is not going to do any justice, but this is one of the stones that we brought back in Zaquan Netanyahu. I know it doesn't look like anything special on camera, King. But there's like a when we get together, I'll bring it. But there's like a transparency to it, and it really does. Like it doesn't like shine, but it illuminates from the inside out. These things is crazy.
Hey,
there's even black ones. There's even black ones that do the same thing.
Once you take it to the right state, man, and see and take it to the right state to the physical sciences department and ask them what type of rock it is.
That's a wonderful idea. Con, the water. But yeah, Con. I know. I just. This is the best rock I ever had. Like this one here. The whole steps. This is like one whole step, like an entire step was made out of these right here. And you could not just grab one and pick them up. Like we had to for real, try to find these. But Nothing, Zaquan. Nothing, Zaquan.
But now he does talk about the Roman Tower Antonia, which was the fort. Okay. So if you look at wars, man, if you look at the wars, he might tell you about, when you look at Antonia, about where they built that fort at and how big the fort was. Okay.
So, Zaquan, your stance is that possibly, or more than likely, that modern is the accurate one, huh?
Well, how you? Because first it was, the city's upside down. That was the thing. But then people kind of backed off of that. And then it was, no, the whole earth is upside down. And then they backed off from that. And then it was, oh no, Jerusalem is not where it's at, it's way down. And they changed the cities on the map and they called it Antonia, Capitalis Antonia. And then we realized that no, they didn't change the location of the city. They knocked down the city and rebuilt their fort. They knocked down the city and built their area right there. You know what I'm saying?
But Zaquan, what about the map that showed that everything was drawn upside down? Because I did see that map though.
I mean, if you see that map, I don't think that was the general consensus of cartography in that time. I don't think that everybody made maps upside down. I mean, you get a compass, you know, you get a compass when you the Hebrew word for west means water, mayam.
Hallelujah.
You know, and the Hebrew word for north, I'm gonna look up the word. You know the word
Tazapawan.
Yeah, but I'm gonna look it up. Make sure. I think it means cold.
Oh, God, hallelujah.
So I'm gonna look it up. Make sure.
Give me a rag, buff for stuff. A clean rag, Maria.
Yeah, Tazapawan means a quarter, gloomy, north. Okay, northward wind. And then the word that we use for east has something to do with sun. East is what? Quadam, right? Quadam is east. So let's look up that word and see what it means. Quadam.
I'm gonna use the oils to wipe them down.
It says Quadam. It means the front part, the east wind.
Yo, Zaquan, that's crazy though that it says Quadam, which is east, but it calls it the front part.
Because the scripture says the Hinder, like the Hinder Sea, I think is another name for the Mediterranean. Because now, when you went into the front part of the temple, the front part of the tabernacle, it was facing you. The tabernacle faced it east to west. So the front of the tabernacle was at the east. The west of the tabernacle was facing the water where the sun goes down. So almost like Yahweh, it was totally not associated with any sun worship. It was the opposite of sun worship. You know what I'm saying? The Holy of Holies was facing the west. You know what I'm saying? The tabernacle. Remember we read that the showbread was on the north, the entrance was on the east, and that the menorah was on the south, and then the Ark of the Covenant was facing the west.
So, I was going through Flavius Josephus, and I seen that, it was for last week's Torah portion, and it showed that that the menorah was actually set up facing two directions. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you know how like we think the menorah is straight. Like, I love to read it, but what it says is that that the menorah was. It's like it proves that the menorah was set up in a circle. Like it faced more than one direction, not just like sideways.
Bring it out.
Come, hallelujah. Okay, water. All right, but please let me keep listening while I look.
Okay. Keep on polishing. Keep polishing. So yeah, I was landing backing off on what you were saying, Doc. I was talking about the four walls and the directions, and then we started talking about. Then I started talking about how they didn't change the maps, and you said you saw on the map how it was like upside down. If you go to the north.
No, forgive me, my lord. What I mean to say is that the map of Jerusalem was drawn upside down, right? Not the world map. Did you check out the documentary that was pertaining to Telluride? Did you see the documentary pertaining to Telluride where it showed that the map maker had drew, like after they kicked us out of the land, they drew an upside down map putting Jerusalem in the north?
The north of what?
Instead of it being in this, not necessarily the north of anything, but instead of it being in this location to the south, they drew the map like upside down and put the map up and put Jerusalem in the north and then everything else down south.
But
you have to look at that map.
But my question would be, what maps do they have with Jerusalem that hasn't been tampered with being on the you said they put Jerusalem on the north, but it's really on the south. So what map do they have that shows this original position of it being on the south? What's the comparison? Like right here, give me that book. Right here. Right here, when I told you, the old Hebrew didn't have the wawa. I mean, the old Hebrew had the wawa. I'm coming off of another reference that's from an older source, the Samaritan text. So here's the Masoretic text that came later. Here's the original Samaritan that came before the Masoretic text. So, hold up. All right, so here's the Masoretic. We know without no vowel points or nothing. The vowel points are right here is the Masoretic text. All right. The ones without the vowel points right here is the Samaritan text. So my thing is like, we have to have something to compare it to. What's the comparison of the map that has the opposite of how they saying it should have been? Because
it wasn't compared to I got something to ask you too about that also, because did you just Wawa? So first, Wawa isn't originally a last one production?
Yeah, it is. Con.
I talked to some of the brethren, and I'll get back to the original point on the map and what to compare it to. But I talked to some of the brethren at ISUPK, and I said Shalom, and it's like the brother just flew off. He was like, ain't no Wawa in Hebrew. You brothers don't know it's Shalom, and there's no Wawa. So I didn't know if you were saying that the Wawa wasn't accurate. That's all.
Now you find both words in the Bible, Shalom and Shalom, with a Wawa.
God.
So you can just
with a Wawa.
You can go in, you can go in and read the scriptures, man. If you read the whole scriptures in the Hebrew, you'll see both. I mean, even in Genesis, you'll see it.
God, Thawada. Okay, so that was that question. Because the brother from Inu, so the brother from IUSUPK was saying that we were speaking incorrectly because we're pronouncing the Wawa sound, and there's no Wawa in the original Hebrew. And I was like, well, I never learned that. So then I moved on to the next subject. But back to what we were saying, it wasn't really based off a comparison of a map. It was given a comparison off a description, as we're talking now, of what we read, and then the map that was shown that it was drawn upside down. So what I'd have to do is actually get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, come. Con.
Right.
What direction was? What direction does the you said the other temple, the other tabernacle in Tel Arad, you said it faces north and south, right?
Nah, it can't face north and south at the same time, can it?
I mean, one not facing, but it runs north and south, or it runs east and west.
Well, this one, it's
La
like
Cortina,
it
La
was
Cortina.
facing. It's like it was facing like northeast, like it's like if when you go into it, it looks like it's facing east. But you know what? I would say either between northeast, like Taddy corner northeast. Yeah, like Taddy corner northeast. Now we have to get there and see again because it could be true east. Because look, because the well was on the opposite side of the entrance. So if it's facing east, then the well would be on the west side.
Well, so how did the city get supplied with water?
That's a question I don't know, Quan. I'm just telling you where I seen the well at. I went down there and everything, so I don't know how I got the supply of water though, King.
I mean, because they had reservoirs like
something else that's peculiar too.
They had reservoirs, like you said, and aqueducts and stuff, you know, in Jerusalem. So a well, to me, a well would denote this is not a major city. This is like some sort of a village or some sort of outpost or some sort of supplemental place to us away from a central place, because a city of 1 million some people cannot survive on a well, not a hand well, unless you got it pumping up and got a major cistern and reservoir system. Because remember, Jerusalem,
cistern, King.
Huh?
It wasn't like a hand well. It was like a major cistern. It was big enough for us to,
a cistern system for 1 million something people. You know what I'm saying?
God.
So not everybody got to come. 1 million something inhabitants at the Passover got to come here, and you know it's like you in Mexico. You're gonna go up the street and get your bottled water and come back home. you know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to get your you know, we have running water, and we know we had cisterns or big aqueducts and water systems there. But like I said, comparing both of them, man, and being there and looking at everything, because we don't know. We looking at this thing as, you know, as amateurs, but we got enough sense. We got enough sense to know what the Bible says and trying to line up with that. So I mean, even if you got a well there, you know, where is I would say the well, and then having the spring, the clean water for the sacrifices, and to anoint, and the pool of Siloam, you know, and because water sources over there are rare. Water sources are rare over there, all right, in Jerusalem. Just natural springs and waters, and from without Jerusalem, in both areas. In both areas, the clean waters, I would say, you know, at Jerusalem, man, that they had the clean water. They had the springs where the water's coming up from the ground, springing up. And then they got the diversion tunnel where it went to the pool of Siloam, the project that Hezekiah undertook. So the well, I mean, you got wells all around the country, but remember, and this is how we always have to focus, man. We're talking about a well, but we have a water source, and we have water being diverted, and we have a fortress, and then we have a hill, Zion, and then we have a tabernacle or a temple area that was built between both of them. Between the city of David and between this fortress, it was 3 different places. It was 3 different places, and they had water between the places, where a man-made water system that ran from the east to the west. So we got to look at all, and then you got the 3 walls. You got the wall facing the east, the south, and the west that should historically show that there was 3 valleys on both them sides, and on the northern part, there was not no valley. It was kind of plain, and that's when they had that triple wall defense.
The water for that. So I'm in. We're in the book of we're in the Antiquities, book 3, and we're in Antiquities, book 3, chapter 6. And line within the parentheses, sometimes called paragraph 144, which I think this is cool too, because 144, and it's at 144 it starts the description of the menorah. And then something else that I wanted to ask was in chapter 6 and in chapter 7, they both talk about the menorah, but in chapter 7, I'll go into that later. But it's a question that I have. Okay, so line 144, and it reads, over against this table, near the southern wall, was set a candlestick of cast gold, hollow within, being of the weight of 100 pounds, which the Hebrews call, and I have a hard time pronouncing this. Can you help me with that?
Concaris.
Chincaris.
Yeah.
If it be turned into the Greek language, it denotes a talent. 145. It was made with the cogs and lilies and pomegranates and bowls, which ornaments amounted to 70 in all, by which means the shaft elevated itself on high from a single base and spread from a single base and spread itself into many branches, as were the planets, including the sun among them. And that was my first question, because I've never heard the menorah described as being a reference to the planets or the sun. All right, so that's one. Verse 6, 146. It terminated in 7 heads in one row, all standing parallel to one another. And these branches carry 7 lamps, one by one, and illuminated. So, does that say illuminated? One by one, in imitation of the number of the planets. These lamps looked to one. Hold on, dang, I can't see in line. That line's blurry.
Look to the east and to the east and to the south.
And the candlestick being situated, what? Obliquely. So when I looked that up, so facing to the east and to the south, how would that be if it's in a straight line?
Because it was
right. It being faced obliquely. Go ahead.
I'm gonna show you. Okay.
What's it, what, brothers?
Here's.
So the question was So the question was, one, I've never seen the menorah in relation to the planets and the luminaries until now. So, and from this part over into chapter 7, it like explicitly goes into something that's called the.
So the question is, how can it face east and west at the same time?
That's the second question. But
if it's in a straight line,
right? That's the first question. But that's the second question. But the first question is, how is it in relation to the planets? I've never
because there was 4 at that time. There was 4 other planets you could see with the devices they had back then and with the naked eye. You had the sun, you had the moon, you have the earth, and then you had like so-called Mars, so-called Venus, so-called Mercury, and then one more, I think so-called Saturn or Uranus, one of them other ones, I forget. But those were the 7 that they could observe, that they said, well, these are the 7 groups that pertain to us where we live at. So now the parallel, like parallel parking, they was all lined up in a row, parallel to each other. Okay? Parallel to each other. This right here is the south wall, but it's facing the south wall, and it's facing the east wall right now, because it's oblique, meaning it's oblique, like that. It's at a diagonal positioning. So it's over against the south, like you got your bed. You put your bed against this. You got your bed over against the south wall, and then you turn it slightly, so it's facing that wall. Okay, let's look at it again. Kind of like this. You see? Oh, you can't see that. Kind of like this. It's against the south wall. Okay, but now it's facing the entrance, which was toward the east. So you first.
Okay, so kind of like turn like catty corner,
but not so extreme as catty corner. A slight catty corner, to where it's not facing east. It's not facing east and west. One point of the candlestick was facing at the east wall, and one part was facing at the west wall. But the whole body itself was closer to the west. Was closer toward the south wall. Because remember because when we move it, we have to move the whole thing. Why? Because we can't have because these were parallel to each other. The light, because remember the Most High said it was 1 and then 3 on each side. You know what I'm saying? So this is how they was parallel, you know what I'm saying, to each other. Now, I will say this though, Kadal Tazaya. I will say that some of the other models of the menorah have them being like this, as opposed to curved like this, as opposed to like this. Some of them have them being like straight.
Yo, Zaquan, what about the menorahs that are in like the dictionaries that show that they're set up in a circle though?
I mean, from what Josephus is saying, we don't have a circle. We have parallel and facing two walls because it's turned at an angle. But the general location of it is against that wall, the south wall, opposite to the table of the table of the showbread. So like right now, you know, here's my entrance coming in east, and this wall over here is the showbread. This wall over here is the south wall, and on the other side, you know how you walk into the big room over here, right? Where the bathroom is at, right? The big room, the bathroom. You come in the door, right? Imagine you come in the door and you go all the way to the left-hand side and you put a dresser right there. So then you turn that dresser a little bit to the left so that the front of it facing the window is now facing the long wall on the left.
Oh, okay, I get you. So
and then the back,
but like a deep plant.
And then the back side of it is facing this wall right here now, the back wall. So it's facing both directions, but the general location of it is on the south wall. Let me give me a pen and paper, somebody, real quick. In the papel. I got a paper. Give me something to write with. I threw it. I'm gonna draw it.
How did he make it hollow? Like he made it hollow. Like this, man. Love it. Being the way that you think it.
All right, so you see this?
Con?
Like that.
Yeah, con. That makes sense. Con.
And then
that line that you drew, that's the menorah?
Right.
Okay.
Con. And then you got the 4 pillars. You walk in through the 4 pillars. Then the squiggly line is the curtain. And then to the left is the south wall. And then over here, on the right side is the table of showbread. And then back here, at the back of it, you got 5 towers, 5 pillars at the back against the wall. It's 2 of them. Then 3 of them is in the middle right there. You got the curtain in between those 2. The X's is the pillars. All right, so the X's are the 5 pillars. The squiggly lines is the curtains. And then the oval back there is like the Holy of Holies. And then
I thought the tabernacle was sectioned off in 3 sections though.
Well, it's two stated positions. 3 can be inferred because it talks about the front and then it talks about the back.
So it's like the porch? Would that be like the porch?
Well, you may be thinking about the temple.
Okay, come on.
You may be thinking about the temple, but the tabernacle itself, 30 cubits was the back, right? No, 20. How wide was it?
I think it was 30 altogether, though.
No, or 30. That's gonna be 45 feet. The back room was like it was about like what, 15 feet by 15 feet. 30, 10, maybe right. Maybe it was 15 by 15 feet, which would give it 30 cubits wide, 30 cubits long, and then 15 cubits. I don't know if it was 15 cubits wide. It seemed like it was half that the length was double the width.
Yo, Zaquan.
Con.
Chapter 7. Okay, Con, I'm with you.
So that's the altar of incense at the front.
Con.
Remember, there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4 main things in there. You know what I'm saying? It was only 4.
I really need your help with this, though.
On the left-hand side, south, is a menorah. By the north is the table with the bread on it. At the back, right by the west wall, is the Holy of Holies. And then outside of that, the parallel lines inside the rectangle is the altar.
Back just a little bit. We screw the camera back just a little. Right, yeah, perfect. But a little bit more. The water.
This is the altar of incense. That's the that's the Ark of the Covenant. That's the menorah. That's the table of the showbread. That's all that was in there.
Come the water.
Four main pieces of furniture. And then these right here was made out of the wooden planks.
So, yo, help me with this real quick, Zaquan. All right, so this is chapter 7, same book. Just gonna go over to chapter 7, and I'm gonna start reading that at line 181.
Khan.
When Mashah designated the tabernacle into 3 parts and allowed 2 of them to the priest as a place accessible and common. And
what book are you in? What number?
Forgive me. I'm in the book of Flavius Josephus.
What book?
Number 3.
Okay.
Chapter 7.
Okay. Book 3.
Yeah, forgive me. Okay. Book 3, chapter 7.
I closed my book up in 181, right?
Con.
Or 151. All right, I got you.
Hallelujah. When Mashah designated the tabernacle into 3 parts and allowed 2 of them to the priest as a place accessible and common, he denoted the land and the sea, these being the general accessible, these being of general access to all, but he set apart the 3rd division for Alahaya because heaven is inaccessible to men. 182. And when he ordered 12 loaves to be set on the table, he denoted the year. Distinguished into so many months by branching out the candlestick into 7. And this is something I really need help with too. Branching out the candlestick into 70 parts, secretly imitating the Decanai. I don't know what the Decanai is. For 70 divisions of the planets, and as to the 7 lamps upon the candlestick, they referred to the courses of the planets, of which that is the number. And that's it right there. But I was hoping to get some help with that. I know you got knowledge on the course of the planets and all that stuff. And I don't know what the 70 is. I don't know what the 7 planets are, and I don't know what the Decanai is.
Well, the 7 planets, like you said, I can't tell you specifically which ones they are, but all this it was the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and we know the Earth, Moon, and Sun, so-called Venus, so-called Mars, so-called Mercury, I believe, and then so-called Saturn, I believe. These were the 7.
Why do I remember learning that Pluto was a planet though?
I mean, I'm not saying Pluto is not a planet.
No. I'm just saying, does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
I'm living in the
Pluto
Mandela effect.
Pluto was
Mandela effect right now?
No. Pluto is called a planet, but at that time it wasn't counted by us, or it wasn't registered with us as part of our sphere of the planets that we was dealing with. Maybe because it was too far, too cold. We didn't call the planet. We dealt with the thing that affected, and we could see what's going on with us in this sphere. And we know that all that came maybe later on, but the ones that we dealt with was our 3 main ones: Earth, Sun, and the Moon. And then those other 4. We know Saturn was. We know so-called Venus was one because it was worshipped even in the time of Isaiah. Okay, it was worshipped even in the time of Isaiah. And then we know that Mercury was one because Mercury makes the 6-pointed inferior conjunction of what they call the 6-point star. Mercury makes that design. Venus makes the 5-point design. So we know them 2 was amongst the 7. So that's 5. That's 3, 4, 5. All right, and then we got 2 more. Them 2 more, I believe, like I said, Saturn was also worshipped at that time. And then I believe that Mercury, not Mercury, but so-called Mars was worshipped at that time also. So those are the 4 that interact with each other in our close atmosphere, our close firmament of the heavens, man. And then the Decanai, there must be some, Deca is dealing with 10. So there must be some sort of 10 step or 10 phase or 10 courses or routes that these planets run, the 70 divisions of the planet. So I'm denoting that each planet has something related to 10 that relates to it, and then all 7 together make up 70 of these Decanai. It's just a matter of looking up Decanai Anybody? DECANI and seeing, you know, what it is or what it means. So we looking at that. We're looking up that now in terms of the planets and the decani. The three divisions would be that main area was called like the partition, but it's actually part of the tabernacle, the curtain when you come in. The towers are part of the curtain, the four pillars up the front, and that veil is part of the tabernacle also. When you step beyond that, go through them curtains, now you have to be on a certain level. So it may not necessarily be three divisions on the inside. It may just be that small area on the outside is considered to be the first part. You know, and then going in, because it technically is part of the Mishkan or the Mashakan. Technically, it's part of the tabernacle, and the walls came out to it also. You know, even Josephus says, both here and in 6:4, Josephus supposes the tabernacle to have been parted into three parts. He seems to esteem the bare entrance to be a third division. Then he says, distinct from the holy and the most holy places, and this the rather because in the temple afterwards there was a real distinct third part, which was called the porch. Otherwise, Josephus would contradict his own description of the tabernacle, which gives us a particular account for no more than three parts. So that, no more than two parts. So the holy, the most holy, and then the entrance.
So like around the area, maybe where the laver was, where the priest would do that part.
Nah, that was outside. That was in a whole outside area. I'm saying right at those four pillars with the curtain. Bam, that's the entrance part.
Man, this thing had to be more intricate than what we know.
But there's no wall for it. It's just the curtain there. But it's part of the tabernacle because the curtains are on the inside. Remember, it's all under the ahal. It's all under the tent, man. So it's all one structure. So it's under the tent. It's all brought together by these towers, the pillars and the wall. You know what I'm saying?
My ahal.
Ahal is, you know, ahal is like a bayath, but kind of like this shape.
Oh, like the top. Oh, come.
Yeah, ahal. Okay, yeah, this is it's like this, but more like this shape. Okay. So what what a lot of the Gadites used to live in and stuff was called the ahal. Because they had it wasn't a permanent structure and it wasn't open. It was closed and it had the covering on top of it. So it was called the ahal. You know what I'm saying? So the ahal was the absolute cover on top of everything. The goat hair and then the leather skin. And then the tabernacle was the curtain that was over top of it, the blue, the red, the scarlet, the cherubim, the support posts, the beams that were holding everything up, the towers. Let me see it. The pillars. All of that is called the ahal. You were looking up in Josephus?
It's starting to get discouraged until I'm trouble seeing it.
Decani is another name for the 70 divisions of planets.
But what is this? What is that?
That's what that's supposed to tell me.
Oh, I didn't see it on there.
I was looking up 70 on the page.
Did you look up Decani on the page?
Yes, it says it. Or it says 70 divisions of planets. And it's talking about first 7 planets.
Okay. But this is just talk. That is just mentioning it. It's not really giving a description of it.
I was trying to read it. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Did you go to the other 2 citations?
I only see one citation. DECAN, right?
But look for 70 because it's more referred to as 70.
I want to take like a. I'm telling you, this.
I'm looking up 7. But
I want to take the
SEVENTY, right?
I want to see all this awesome spirit. It's this bare stone.
70 divisions of the planets. 70 years. Significance of 70 years. So, maybe there's a.
You know, it's good to look up the etymology of the word decade.
It's 10. It's 10, like decade.
Oh, come on. Go to online. Online etymology.
Maybe every 7 years, I'm thinking maybe, man, that maybe in every 70 years, they all have like like they all line up or something. You know what I'm saying? It's a 70-year cycle, it says. We have a 70-year cycle, but I don't know.
Yo, Zaquan, we just looked it up on onlineetymology.org. Online etymology, and which is a really good website. For that specific word, it says no results were found for decanai, showing results for it, and it moved to something else. Wow. I like it when it be like that, like when it's something kind of like it seems like it's more mysterious, like kind of hard to find. Like I really feel like Flavius Josephus like left, you know, like jewels for us to really research.
Kind. No doubt he did, man.
I need a Dremel. It's called a Dremel tool. I can go get one. I can actually take a Dremel tool and call it these down.
Yeah, we gotta just figure out what he meant by that, man. I don't know if we're gonna figure it out right now though, but
yeah, no worries, kind of. It's something fun that's there that we can look forward to learning.
Let's look up Decanai Josephus.
I did. It just comes up with the passage.
So we'll figure that out and we'll get that done tomorrow. So Isaiah couldn't hang in, huh? He gone. You going, Isaiah? Who's online still? Whoever's online on YouTube, go ahead and say who you are real quick. We close out if y'all want to go ahead and eat and get food and stuff or whatever, or bring me some food. Say couldn't wait, huh?
Yeah.
They ran down the stairs.
Hey, the room empty already. Now they still getting up. Everybody leaving out now. Hey, shalom, Mark. Shalom, Mark. Hallelujah. Shalom. Why you be all like, do it, come on, man. Why I gotta come to you? Why don't you put your arm out? Why I gotta come on, here. This what you do. No, do me. You do me. That's what you do. That's what you do. You gotta meet me. All right, shalom. Thanks for coming out. See how he meet me? See? He meets me. Even if I come back here, see? I can go back, see? We meeting. See? But if I'm over here, see? Like he meet me. Hit it. There you go. It hurt? It's supposed to. Get your little bones tough. Hit it again. No, hit. See? You made me come to you. Hit it. All right. All right, so thanks for coming. Shalom. Hallelujah. Shalom out. Shalom out. Thank you, sisters, for coming out. Feel free to stay behind. If y'all want to stay behind and get some more of this information that y'all is dropping on us. The unanswerable secret mysteries of Josephus.
Never ending.
All right, so yeah, we don't know about them. Hey, who's with us online? Type a message, or we're gonna just cut you off. Stop the broadcast, because we don't know who over there and who is on with us on YouTube, y'all. Is that that's Shaka Dagad. You still there, Shaka Dagad? And straight up facts, y'all still there? Are you okay, man? Y'all can't see nothing on there. Let me try to. I'm trying to adjust it for you so you can see a little better. I know it was y'all too. He's still there. Hey, what did man? How can I can see him, but
no, I was inviting Eleazar, the rogue Hebrew, to get on with us, man. We've been discussing lately about Issachar and not being the so-called Mexicans, and so he's just been sending messages, and I love the brother, so I wanted to invite him on this platform too.
What, to deal with the temple and Josephus and the Decani?
Yeah, come on. Just let him know what we doing, and invite him in.
With the water.
So, anywho,
oh, which one y'all hung up?
But Khan, so
straight up facts and Shikata, who hung up? I don't see one of y'all here now. Nobody here now. Both of y'all hung up. Dang. All right, what you say, I
was just looking back at the same, and the reason why we're here is because like this was this week's Torah portion.
Hey, so I'm gonna tell you something real quick. We ain't finna have no karate-thon tonight.
What happened?
I said we ain't about to have no karate-thon tonight.
Karate-thon. Karate-thon.
Yeah, you want a karate-thon?
I'm surprised they ain't sitting down eating in front of you, so you know it's about to be on.
Hey, he about to open the phone lines, man. He about to open the phone lines to get some pledges for next year's broadcast for our broadcast, man. Because we really enjoy bringing you these programs every year, and then we're listener supported.
I'm just following out the examples I got from you and Nathan Yalla, man, all night.
Hey, Nathan Yalla, tell him, man. Hey, man, you gotta. Hey, Nathan Yalla.
Yo.
How far behind me is he in the Parazathons, man?
Way behind. I'm just now getting to this point.
But yeah, man, man.
In all honesty, I mean, he's making strides.
Yeah, them brothers, man.
He had a good teacher. He's making strides.
Thank you, Nathan Yalla.
When I call the brothers, man, they be like,
hey, but I'm telling you, Parza, your marathons are legendary.
Hey, man, they got.
All it takes is a willing participant who wants to argue and debate.
No. What are you talking about, man? I'm talking about I'm talking about back in 93 and 94 when I was calling up to speak to Iraq, Banya Sha'ala, Karash, you, Gabar, Ma'ai.
Get on the phone.
Yeah, so
whenever he get on the phone, it was on.
It was on.
Hey, when he called, right, everybody looking at each other. All right, whose turn is it?
Yeah, man, got to get that information, man.
Be like, whose turn is it?
What?
All right, Karash. Hey, Karash, now don't sleep on Karash. Karash got a win for you now. Karash got some win.
Yo, what the scripture says? Well, we're now finding the man of understanding, Parazah. We're now finding way down the steps of this door.
Down to the foundation. Down to the foundation.
Man.
Hey, we going down. I'm going down to the rebar, man. I'm going to the rebar.
To the rebar.
Hey, yeah. I want to see the I want to see the I want to see below the freeze line, man.
That's right.
I want to get down to where the soil ain't gonna freeze no more.
Yeah, this one is starting to get good right here.
Yeah, that Josephus, man.
So I just got a message from Eleazar. He said he's gonna be stopping in. He said we on her now. I'm taking all fades, turning down none. He said, so Eleazar gonna be joining us soon.
I gotta find a notebook real quick. So yeah, man, we gotta that Josephus, man, he lays out how the temple was set up, man, and all them things that were in the temple vicinity.
What say that again? What you mean?
I said Josephus lays out, where the temple was at and what was in the vicinity.
Con. So here's something I think is interesting too, man. Is this course of this course of water that came through to these three different locations? Do you think that they all ran along the same line? Because if the water flow was on this, that would give us a base of where we could find these three specific locations, like Moriah. Oh, we got Gentile killer just joined us.
So the water, man, the water was outside. The water was for the city of David, coming from the east, flowing to the west. You know what I'm saying? It was the water was was flowing from the city of David to the east to the west. I don't know how outside the city it was though. Like it was all if it was all four sides. Hey, what's up, Art? What's up, man? Yeah, we're talking about Jerusalem and the walls.
Shalom, Yabrakaya Basham Yasha. What power is that? Y'all say y'all was over here.
I'm right here.
Yabrakaya Basham Yasha. Shalom, man. Shalom.
I'm right here, man. We talking.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Shalom. It's good to see you, bro. It's good to see the Rogue One himself. Yeah, hey, keep rolling, killing all that bullshit.
What he saying? I got a PG-13 my audience on YouTube, man.
Well, hey, you better get some headphones. This ain't for the little kids. You might want to put them to bed then.
Now we can talk civilly with the people. Everybody can listen. But yeah, man. So. But that was one. You got the Gihon Springs, and then from the Gihon Springs, it ran west to the city of David, man. And that Hezekiah Tunnel runs that same direction. So I don't see three. You said 3 bodies of water. What do you mean 3 bodies of water?
Well, not three bodies of water, but three locations. If we can find that one specific water location, we can narrow down where the at. Where Nathan Young?
Oh, he over where the empty couch is at. He went somewhere probably. Now I'm not being.
Oh wait, we can get some coffee. Better get some popcorn while you at it.
Now he didn't get caught. He went to get some.
Get some popcorn.
He went to get some. What you get some?
You got some popcorn.
Shalom.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What up?
What up? What up?
What's the deal?
I'm multitasking, so I'll be back in view in a hot second.
What you got?
What we waiting on? What we waiting on?
Man,
you know what? That was a really good screenshot, man. Nathan Yala, man. You still with us? Yeah, I can hear you.
So yeah, so I mean, so Josephus give all of the details, man. I mean, he don't leave too much room for any type of confusion in terms of what he said that he saw, man. And he said that the city was plain, it was level flat. He said what not remaining except for that one wall and 3 towers. Now the 3 towers. Right now, it said that they gone. It said the 3 towers was knocked down.
Ready, right?
Ready for what? What are you talking about? Ready for what?
Oh, now what me in here for again?
I mean, yeah. What now? What? Yeah, we talking about Jerusalem.
You mean? No. Don't think that. Come on. What y'all invite me in here for? That's what we get into. What you invited me in here for? To me, where to me.
Karatazar, Karatazar, something going on we don't know about, Karatazar? What was the premise?
It ain't nothing that we don't know about, man. It's the rogue one himself, man. It's the rogue Hebrew one.
He don't want to talk about Jerusalem. He want to talk about something else. Is that what it is? You want to talk about something else besides Jerusalem? Eleazar, you want to talk about something else besides Jerusalem?
I gotta adjust my shit.
You said you don't want to talk about Jerusalem. You want to talk about something else?
Yo, Eleazar. Yo. Yeah, not the him.
You saying you don't want? You saying you wasn't aware we was talking about Jerusalem? What are we talking about? That's what we talking about. That was the topic, man. That the new real Jerusalem is really the new fake Jerusalem.
Where?
Now I said the new real Jerusalem is really the new fake Jerusalem. Seems like. You gotta investigate more.
Yeah, Eleazar, man, you should make this trip with us, man. That's why I will, man, for Kassak right now.
Ask who? You on asking what?
What's a tribe?
A tribe? Oh, Eleazar. Eleazar.
Yo, Eleazar, man, can you hear us? You froze, you there? Yeah. Paul's, I had a question for you.
Now she had a question she wanted to ask him.
Say what?
Mayana Shabai had a question for you.
Mayana Shabai?
Yeah, she had a question for you.
I'm listening.
Tell him shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. I'm listening.
Hey, Eleazar, make sure you answer. Make sure you answer with a handful of cuss words, okay?
I'm trying to throw your kids in front of here so you think I ain't gonna talk. I'm gonna do it. You know, you're gonna put this in bed.
Go ahead. So,
hey, I'm trying to get them to answer your questions.
She had a question for you that she asked me like a week ago something. No, this her. She said I got a question for him. She don't. I don't know what it's about though. What's your question?
What tribe are you?
She said, "What tribe are you?"
Say it again.
What tribe are you?
I'm from the Gentile killing tribe.
Khan.
I'm from the tribe of Judah. What's your name? What's the second part to it?
Did you have another question? No, she said that's all she had, man. Only one question.
You missed my stop.
You gonna put him on the right feet?
Got some of that good old fish karatas out. All praise. Hey man, I'm gonna talk to you after we get off here. That good old fish. Yeah, Cali red snapper. All praise, man. I'm gonna talk to you when we get off of here. Yeah, the kind I brought to the park that day. Come with Khan. Oh my God.
Hey, Karazia, did they have any?
I'm trying to hold my phone and do a whole bunch of stuff at one time. I'm ready to get to it. Once I get to the crib, I can grab my supply for real and we can get down to it. That's it. Hey, Nathan Yala, can you hear me?
Yeah, ton.
So, Kazak, Kazak Tuki Williams' son. So his little school, I used to be with that school. So they've been wanting to debate us for like 3 months. They said they wanted to debate. It's been 3 months. They ain't had a debate. I had to ask them, which I want to have this shit at Caesar's Palace or something. Where we gonna have this at? So I'm gonna have to just go up to the school. You know what I'm saying? Slice them up. Because listen, I'm gonna tell you why though. Because I know they ain't reading the Torah, but I ain't been to the school. You feel me? They got kids in they camp. Now hear me out. They got kids been in their camp like your kids, Farazad. I was born to this truth. Don't even know the Torah. So now understand this. I don't respect Farazad. I don't respect her. Everybody knows. Your children, those my partners. I can compare all the kids that are born to truth to them. So
for real.
Born in the truth, and you 17 and you 18, and you not doing what they doing, or speak the language, or know the Torah, or know the scripture, that means that you bullshit. So I'm finna get it in with them on this Friday. I gotta go up to their school and just, you know what I mean? Yeah. So what's the debate topic? What's the debate topic, Doc? What's the debate topic? The 12 tribes. Tribe of Issachar.
Man, what's so special about Issachar, man, that you gotta single them out?
Because, see, before we even get to that, Farazad, I want to express this. Because, see, it's not that what's so special about them. The Most High said that judgment will start with the house of Israel. The weak and pure will be separated. There's a lot of things that people been.
Hey, whoever's on here, come on over to the
some of it is true.
come on over into
some of it is not true.
come over into the app for Zoom to stay on, okay? Y'all come on over to Zoom because he about to